17-year-old high schooler was cornered by a group of street thugs. Everyone thought he was about to get torn apart. No suspense, no mercy. What happened next completely shattered expectations. With a single punch, the high schooler dropped a human tank on the spot. The impact was so brutal, it practically shut the guy's brain down. The remaining thugs froze in place, stunned into silence. Still, they had the numbers. If one-on-one didn't work, then they'd jump him together. The moment that thought crossed their minds, the high schooler stepped in and smashed a punch straight into one thug's face. The man was sent airborne, his body spinning a full 180 degrees before crashing down. Even Jung Min-ho, who bragged about being the successor to Ma Dong-suk, couldn't withstand what looked like a casual kick from the high schooler. Everyone who witnessed the fight later said the same thing. This wasn't a brawl, it was a one-sided massacre. That night, the high schooler was elevated to legend. From then on, people called him the Urban Demon King. At just 17 years old, he had already carved out a kingdom of his own. At this point, the story was cut short by the boy himself. He simply couldn't bring himself to take in something that sounded so much like a fictional tale. Still, through his friend's explanation, Zhao Chuanhao learned that the legendary Demon King had ultimately died in a car accident. The reason his friend brought this up was because the place Zhao Chuanhao was about to go to was extremely unusual. It was a school known as the Demon School. Anyone who managed to stay at that school was a fighting prodigy, and they all followed a single rule: strength above all else. If you became a loser at that school, what awaited you would be something far worse than hell. At that moment, Zhao Chuanhao had just gotten off the bus. Since it was already getting late, he planned to stay at his uncle's place for the night. Just then, he heard someone whistle at him from behind. Turning around, he saw 3 street punks staring straight at him. The man in front wore a playful grin, clearly having found some entertainment. Their appearance made cold sweat bead on Zhao Chuanhao's forehead. Were they about to rob him? 1 minute later, Zhao Chuanhao was knocked to the ground and surrounded by the 3 of them. They grabbed his backpack, dumped everything out, and took away every valuable electronic item they could find. Zhao Chuanhao never imagined that, in this day and age, he'd still get robbed by a bunch of idiots. It left him utterly speechless. The 3 decided to sell his tablet, but a single tablet was nowhere near enough to satisfy them. They wanted to squeeze even more money out of Zhao Chuanhao. If they weren't satisfied today, they threatened to strip Zhao Chuanhao of his pants. Then they would send the footage to his friends and family. Hearing this, Zhao Chuanhao felt his hair stand on end. He couldn't help wondering if everyone in this neighborhood was completely insane. As they were talking, the fat guy had already pressed the record button. They assured Zhao Chuanhao that the video wouldn't be released for now, on the condition that he paid them 500,000 won every month as protection money. Hearing that he'd have to pay 500,000 won every single month, Zhao Chuanhao was completely stunned. The next moment, he scrambled to his feet and bolted. His monthly allowance was only 10,000 won. There was no way he could come up with that kind of money. But just as he turned around, a sharp pain exploded across his back. To his shock, it was the man wearing pink underwear who had struck him. With a single kick, the man sent Zhao Chuanhao flying. His body crashed down off the bridge. The impact was severe. Zhao Chuanhao immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. The 3 men on the bridge looked down at him, writhing on the ground like a worm, and found it amusing, showing not a shred of remorse. They even seemed entertained, preparing to head down and have some fun torturing him. The 3 men quickly turned around and began walking down from the bridge at a steady pace. Zhao Chuanhao knew full well that he was no match for them. Right now, the only thing he could do was run. Just then, he noticed a dark silhouette ahead. Under the streetlight, the figure appeared unusually clear, as if grabbing hold of his last lifeline. Zhao Chuanhao shouted desperately, "Hey, sir over there, can you help me?" But the man acted as if he were deaf, completely ignoring him. That cold indifference filled Zhao Chuanhao with terror. Unable to hold back, he shouted again, "Hey, I'm talking to you. Can't you hear me? Can you save me?" There seemed to be a delay in the man's movements. Several seconds after Zhao Chuanhao finished shouting, the man slowly turned his head. With a puzzled look, he pointed at himself and asked, "Are you talking to me?" Zhao Chuanhao felt that the man might be a bit strange, but he didn't dare say it out loud. After all, this person was his only hope. He could only plead, "Please, come help me." The man's lips curled into what looked like a smile. It was clear he was unusually excited. He spoke slowly. "After all these years, someone can finally see me." When Zhao Chuanhao saw his face clearly, he froze completely. Was this thing human or a ghost? Just then, the gangsters had already come down as well. Zhao Chuanhao panicked, his mind going completely blank. Before he could react, the man lunged toward him and said, "Helping you isn't impossible, but we need to make a deal." The moment Zhao Chuanhao agreed, his consciousness was swallowed by darkness. Soon after, his awareness returned, and he found himself watching his own body. Only now, it was no longer under his control. Two of the thugs stared at him like he was an idiot. One sneered. What's he muttering to himself for? Did the fall mess up his brain? Another walked up behind Zhao Chuanhao with a phone in hand. "You can play crazy all you want. Today, every video that needs to be filmed will be filmed." In the next instant, Zhao Chuanhao's body spun around and clamped a hand over the man's mouth. At the same time, his toe flicked out lightly, striking the thug's ankle with precision. With just those two simple movements, the body slammed the man head first into the ground. The flow was smooth and ruthless, like a battle-hardened demon king. The thug on the ground cursed loudly. "Shit, shit," just as the thug lifted his head. Zhao Chuanhao's power pack kick came crashing down right after. The thug was completely terrified and begged him to stop, pleading for mercy. Zhao Chuanhao smiled slightly, flashing his white teeth. His tone was casual, yet chilling. "Don't chicken out. Humans aren't that easy to kill." In the next second, his foot slammed straight into the man's face. The sheer force of the kick sent the thug flying a full 10 meters away. The remaining two thugs glanced at their fallen leader on the ground, then stiffly turned their heads toward Zhao Chuanhao. They knew it. Today, they had hit solid steel. Zhao Chuanhao spoke slowly, his voice calm and steady. "You guys are students from the magic school, right?" As he spoke, he ran both hands through his hair, slicking it back. "Go back and tell those old bastards at the magic school. The Demon King, Ma Shihao, has returned." At the same time, Zhao Chuanhao's consciousness seemed to hover in midair, staring in disbelief at the scene below. Standing down, there was a figure he knew better than anyone else. Yet he couldn't understand what was happening at all. What unsettled him even more was his current state. His body felt strange, almost like a nether form, similar to his soul. When the two remaining thugs saw their leader go down, they immediately charged forward. Zhao Chuanhao felt a surge of panic and shouted for his body to get away as fast as possible. But once again, reality defied his expectations. The two thugs were no match at all. One single punch caved in the cheek of one of them. Zhao Chuanhao was completely stunned by what he saw. He couldn't comprehend what kind of existence the man inside his body really was. How could someone possess such terrifying combat skill? Watching the body below move like a god of war, Zhao Chuanhao finally reached a conclusion. This had to be a dream. Otherwise, none of this made sense. Even though reason told him he was dreaming, the overwhelming thrill sent his adrenaline skyrocketing. In less than a minute, the body below had taken down all three thugs. After dealing with the thugs, the body finally spoke directly to Zhao Chuanhao. In a relaxed tone, he said that all three were taken care of, asking if Zhao Chuanhao found the outcome satisfying. Time passed quickly, and before he knew it, morning had arrived. Zhao Chuanhao woke up on the bed in his uncle's house. As he tried to push himself up with his hand, a sharp pain shot through his arm. Looking down, he saw that his hand was swollen like a sandbag. The piercing pain was almost unbearable. He had never felt anything like this before. Then, what happened next left him completely speechless. Floating in midair above the bed was a man. The pain in his hand was vivid and unmistakably real. That pain delivered a clear message. Everything that happened last night was not a dream at all. At that moment, Zhao Chuanhao noticed that the man was wearing a school uniform. When he saw the name printed on it, his mind went blank. Something this absurd had actually happened to him. The man floating before his eyes was none other than the urban legend his friend had mentioned on the phone, the urban demon king, Ma Shihao. The story went back several years to when Ma Shihao had become the urban demon king. Arrogant and unstoppable, he truly believed he would remain the strongest in the city forever. That confidence ended when he failed to watch the road while driving and crashed straight into a utility pole. The vehicle exploded the moment it collided. And just like that, the urban demon king, Ma Shihao, died in the car accident. Strangely enough, although his body had stopped breathing, his soul remained unusually active. From that point on, Ma Shihao wandered through the city as a drifting spirit. During that entire time, no one could hear his voice, nor could he interact with anyone at all. He had become nothing more than a lonely wandering ghost, believing he would roam like this forever. Until last night, when he encountered Zhao Chuanhao. After listening to Ma Shihao's story, Zhao Chuanhao came to a simple conclusion. He was a ghost. Ma Shihao was clearly uncomfortable with that label, but he had no way to refute it. Zhao Chuanhao himself felt helpless dealing with a ghost like this. He only wanted Ma Shihao to stop clinging to him. The problem was that this ghost recognized only Zhao Chuanhao, and only Zhao Chuanhao could see him, leaving Ma Shihao with no choice but to follow him. Shortly after, Ma Shihao followed Zhao Chuanhao to the school, once known as the Demon School. Over the years, however, the so-called Demon School had long since been renamed Fengtian High School. Ma Shihao didn't care about that at all. To him, the name might have changed, but the nature of the place hadn't. This was still a demon school. Zhao Chuanhao had no interest in dwelling on what happened the night before. He thanked Ma Shihao for his help, then told him it was time to leave. But it was far easier to invite trouble than to send it away. Ma Shihao's next words caused Zhao Chuanhao's heart to sink. Ma Shihao's idea was simple. He had incredible fighting ability, but no physical body to use it, and Zhao Chuanhao's body happened to be the perfect vessel. He wanted Zhao Chuanhao to join him in doing something big. Ma Shihao went on to describe his glorious days as the urban demon king, claiming that if they worked together, Zhao Chuanhao could reach that same level in no time. Zhao Chuanhao stared at him blankly, unable to comprehend what he was even talking about. He rejected the proposal without hesitation. Zhao Chuanhao only wanted to finish high school normally and find an ordinary job after graduation. The title of Urban Demon King meant nothing to him. What those lunatics did the day before was still fresh in his mind, and he had no desire to associate with people like that ever again. He neither believed he could achieve what Ma Shihao described, nor had any intention of teaming up with him. So Zhao Chuanhao stated it clearly. He couldn't help, and he wouldn't help. Ma Shihao should find someone else. After hearing Zhao Chuanhao's words, Ma Shihao looked momentarily confused. Then his presence suddenly hardened. In a near-threatening tone, he told Zhao Chuanhao that he seemed to have misunderstood something. This was not a request. If Zhao Chuanhao agreed, he could continue living. If not, Ma Shihao would forcibly take over his body. The moment he finished speaking, Ma Shihao's hand clamped around Zhao Chuanhao's throat, cutting off his breath. Zhao Chuanhao never imagined that after barely surviving the thugs the night before, he would now face having his body taken by this dangerous existence. At that instant, a powerful surge of resistance erupted from within Zhao Chuanhao, violently knocking Ma Shihao's hand away. Ma Shihao froze for a brief moment before quickly realizing what had happened. He understood that forcing the issue wouldn't work. He could only use the body if Zhao Chuanhao agreed willingly. Realizing this, Ma Shihao immediately changed his tone, casually saying that he never claimed he wanted to steal the body, only borrow it for a while. But Zhao Chuanhao no longer believed a single word he said. The look in Ma Shihao's eyes earlier had already revealed everything. Furious, Zhao Chuanhao raised his head and shouted, telling that dangerous man to disappear from his sight immediately. When Zhao Qianhao came back to his senses, the figure standing before him was no longer Ma Shihao, but a beautiful girl. The sudden shift made the situation unbearably awkward, leaving Zhao Qianhao wishing he could crawl into a hole on the spot. To avoid any misunderstanding, Zhao Qianhao hurriedly rambled an explanation, saying that his words earlier weren't directed at her, but the ghost beside him. The girl let out a cold laugh and walked away, clearly taking Zhao Qianhao for a lunatic. Watching her leave, Zhao Qianhao finally realized that this school was co-ed. Still, when her face crossed his mind again, his cheeks warmed unconsciously. Zhao Qianhao told Ma Shihao to leave his vicinity immediately. Right now, he had no interest in anything at all, but when he turned around, he realized Ma Shihao was already gone, letting out a long sigh of relief. Zhao Qianhao felt noticeably lighter without the ghost hovering around him. Soon after, he arrived at the classroom and gave a brief self-introduction. Once he finished, the teacher assigned him a seat near the back of the room. That placement made Zhao Qianhao uneasy. He could feel everyone's eyes on him, whispering among themselves. The attention made things awkward, leaving him with the sense that fitting into this small class wouldn't be easy. After a moment of thought, Zhao Qianhao decided not to dwell on it. Since he was here, he might as well focus on studying. Just then, a hand gently tapped his shoulder. Turning his head, Zhao Qianhao saw a bespectacled boy with spiky blonde hair sitting beside him, who told him it was their Ro's turn for cleaning duty that day. When the class bell rang, the bespectacled blonde-haired boy led Zhao Qianhao on a walk around the school. As they went, he explained the cleaning duties. Each student on duty had to manage their assigned area properly. Any mistake would result in points being deducted from the entire class. Zhao Qianhao cursed his luck silently. It was his very first day, and he was already stuck with cleaning duty. As they walked, the blonde boy casually asked if his name was Zhao Qianhao and why he transferred to this school. Zhao Qianhao explained that his parents had suddenly moved to the city, forcing him to transfer as well. All nearby schools were already full, and only Fengtian High still had openings. Before he could finish, the blonde boy cut him off, saying this place wasn't called Fengtian High. In this neighborhood, no one ever called it that. That was because the school was crawling with countless little demons. Every student who entered this place did so with a single goal in mind: to become the worst in the nation and the strongest in the world. Simply put, this high school was a hardline faction among elite schools. Zhao Qianhao didn't quite understand what that meant and was about to ask for clarification. Before he could say a word, a heavy punch slammed straight into him. He never expected that the seemingly skinny blonde guy could send him flying with a single blow. Shocked and furious, Zhao Qianhao demanded to know why he had been attacked out of nowhere. In the next moment, Zhao Qianhao froze on the spot. The surrounding noise seemed to surge closer, closing in on him from all sides. Countless eyes were fixed on him. For the students here, the arrival of a transfer student was rare, and more than enough to spark excitement. In just 2.5 minutes, students began leaning out of classroom windows, craning their necks toward Zhao Qianhao's direction, erupting into cheers almost simultaneously. That was because this school followed an unspoken rule. Every new student must undergo a trial by combat. The sudden situation left Zhao Qianhao completely unsettled. At that moment, the blonde-haired boy slowly walked toward him. In this place, known as the Demon School, everything was decided by fists. As he spoke, the blonde casually tossed his armband onto Zhao Qianhao's head. He then reached up and removed his glasses. The next instant, his actions left Zhao Qianhao stunned. The boy rolled up his sleeves, revealing tightly packed muscles, with intimidating tattoos running along both arms. He gestured for Zhao Qianhao to stand and declared that as a first-year Class 4 transfer student, their duel was about to begin. Zhao Qianhao looked around at the other students in confusion, wondering if not a single person intended to step in and stop the fight. Even the teacher, standing on the second floor, after witnessing the scene, simply shut the window without hesitation. That made Zhao Qianhao realize completely. Teachers here neither could nor would interfere. At that moment, a man wearing a floral shirt suddenly shouted, calling all students who wanted to place bets to gather over there. Before long, wagers were placed. Someone put down 50,000 won, betting that the transfer student would win. That was exactly why the students were so fanatically invested in this so-called freshman welcome. Zhao Qianhao never imagined something like this would actually happen openly inside a school. Right then, the blonde-haired student made the first move. He grabbed Zhao Qianhao by the collar. In the next instant, a flurry of punches rained down on him. Zhao Qianhao hurriedly tried to reason with him, saying they were classmates and could talk things out. But the blonde didn't listen at all. Instead, he coldly declared that from now on, Zhao Qianhao was the cleaning duty student for this entire area. The punches came so fast that Zhao Qianhao could barely see what was in front of him. Yet when he instinctively turned his head, he saw Ma Shihao's ghostly figure standing silently behind him, appearing out of nowhere. Ma Shihao spoke up from behind, telling Zhao Qianhao that the proper fighting distance was meant for throwing punches, not standing there getting beaten. If anything, he should grab the opponent by the waist and slam him down. He urged Zhao Qianhao to do it immediately, warning that otherwise he would be beaten flat in no time. Hearing this, Zhao Qianhao stopped hesitating. He rushed in, wrapped his arms around the blonde's waist, and executed a brutal takedown, slamming him hard into the ground. The scene instantly sent the crowd into an uproar. Panicking, the blonde shouted for Zhao Qianhao to let go. Behind him, Ma Shihao sounded increasingly anxious, shouting that Zhao Qianhao shouldn't stay on top like that and needed to roll over immediately, clearly frustrated by his clumsiness. Ma Shihao then suggested that instead of struggling like this, Zhao Qianhao should just lend him the body so he could deal with a small fry like this effortlessly. But Zhao Qianhao didn't dare hand over his body so casually. If he couldn't get it back, the consequences would be unimaginable. In the midst of all this, Zhao Qianhao's hair was suddenly grabbed by the blonde. Seeing that, Ma Shihao's expression stiffened as he warned that being caught in that position was very bad news. The next instant, with a loud crash, the blonde smashed his head straight into Zhao Qianhao's cheek. The sharp pain exploded across Zhao Qianhao's face, making him instinctively want to clutch his cheek. What Zhao Qianhao didn't expect was that the blonde's assault kept coming, giving him no chance to recover. The blonde roared almost maniacally, saying he was glad to meet Zhao Qianhao today, and that once he won, this entire area would become Zhao Qianhao's responsibility to clean. As he shouted, his fists kept slamming into Zhao Qianhao's stomach without mercy. In truth, the blonde was a pitiful figure himself. Before Zhao Qianhao transferred to this school, he had been the one bullied, forced to clean trash every day while enduring constant mockery and humiliation. But now things were different. Zhao Qianhao's arrival gave him a chance to pass that suffering on, to hand over the baton at last. Zhao Qianhao was beaten until blood flowed from his nose and mouth, his vision starting to blur. Meanwhile, the students watching seemed completely unfazed, as if this were nothing unusual. At that moment, Zhao Qianhao felt certain that this school was utterly insane. These students cared only about the outcome of the fight, not whether he lived or died. He couldn't understand why something like this had to happen to him. The blonde's heavy punch came down again, smashing hard into Zhao Qianhao's cheek. The blow sent his body flying backward, tumbling dozens of meters away. The instant Zhao Qianhao collapsed to the ground, the entire area erupted in cheers like a crashing tide. Zhao Qianhao lay face down on the ground, completely motionless, as if all resistance had drained from his body. At that moment, Max Hao's voice echoed slowly in his mind, calmly explaining what he called the truth of this world. Don't you understand why yet? You idiot. In a place called Demon School, if you don't have power, all you can do is get beaten. That's reality. Fists are the truth. Still, you should consider yourself lucky. Because you ran into the former demon king of this school. Just hand over control of your body, and I'll deal with these small fries for you. Once again, Max Hao proposed the same deal. The terms were simple: share a single body, a mutually beneficial arrangement. This time, Zhao Chuanhao didn't rush to reject it. His gaze shifted to the side, landing on the blonde who was cheering with the crowd. Then his trembling body slowly pushed itself up from the ground. The sight stunned the blonde for a split second before his expression twisted with anger. "You're still standing? You're tougher than I thought." With that, the blonde closed the distance rapidly. He shouted as he advanced, "Just lie down already. No matter how hard you struggle, it's pointless." What he didn't know was that Zhao Chuanhao was no longer the same person as before. Because at that very moment, Zhao Chuanhao had accepted Max Hao's proposal and surrendered control of his body. At the same time, the blonde's fist was already closing in on Zhao Chuanhao's face. A look of wild excitement spread across his face. This blow should have decided the fight. But in the very next instant, his expression changed completely. His punch had been caught firmly by Zhao Chuanhao with just one hand. Zhao Chuanhao lifted his head, staring straight at him with an overwhelming glare. "What the hell are you mumbling about?" Sensing something was wrong, the blonde immediately pulled back. Confusion flooded his mind. Why had the presence of the person in front of him changed so drastically? At that moment, Zhao Chuanhao's body was fully under the control of Max Hao, the Demon King. Max Hao spat out a mouthful of blood, feeling soreness all over. Even his lips split open. Even so, an intense sense of satisfaction surged through him. Everyone watching felt the atmosphere turn disturbingly strange, as if something fundamental had shifted. Max Hao's gaze slowly settled on the blonde. A single thought crossed his mind. He needed people who could get things done by his side. Although Max Hao was confident he could have persuaded the thugs from last night, he had no interest in people like that. Instead, the blonde standing in front of him caught his attention. Young men with this kind of resilience were rare. Right then, Max Hao made a decision. The blonde would become his first underling. The moment those words left his mouth, laughter erupted from the surrounding students. The blonde, however, was furious. "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" In his eyes, someone who had just been beaten down for so long had no right to judge him. As the blonde launched another attack, Max Hao simply let out a low chuckle. In the next instant, he raised his right fist. Bang! It slammed straight into the blonde's cheek. Immediately after, his left fist unleashed its stored power, crashing hard into the blonde's abdomen. Finally, Max Hao finished with a sharp uppercut. The three-hit combo was more than enough to put the blonde through hell. The blonde spat out a mouthful of blood, unable to understand how he had lost. Even the students watching from the sidelines were stunned. No one expected the transfer student to be this strong. The blonde's body was sent flying by Max Hao's heavy blows. Yet he quickly forced himself back on his feet. There was no fear in his eyes, only confusion, and that confusion ignited his fighting spirit even further. If the blonde had known that the person standing before him was actually his idol, Max Hao, the Demon King, no one knew what kind of expression he would have worn. Max Hao flashed him a bright smile. "The fight ends here. From now on, you'll be my lackey." Before the words even settled, Max Hao threw a swift punch, one powerful enough to nearly flatten the blonde's face. When he pulled his fist back, a deep imprint was left clearly on the blonde's cheek. Right after that, Zhao Chuanhao's body shuddered slightly as control returned to him. He looked completely dazed, never expecting Max Hao to solve everything the moment he took over. What followed was a wave of thunderous cheers. 17-year-old Zhao Chuanhao ended his first day as a transfer student with a clean victory. Floating in midair, Max Hao spoke calmly. "You'd better train that lousy body of yours. Otherwise, fighting is going to hurt like hell." As soon as he said that, Zhao Chuanhao felt a dull pain surge through his right hand. When he raised his arm to look, he realized his right arm was actually fractured. The next moment, he dropped to his knees, shaking his arm in panic, worried whether it would fully recover. Unbeknownst to him, A man on the third floor had been watching everything unfold. He wore an excited grin. Interesting. That kid can really fight. Because Zhao Quanhao had suffered a serious fracture in his arm, he was quickly sent to Fengtian Hospital for treatment. Fortunately, the diagnosis wasn't severe, just a simple fracture with no major long-term damage. Even so, Zhao Quanhao could clearly sense the danger lurking beneath everything that had happened. Max Hao mocked him relentlessly. You broke the hand you used to hit someone. How pathetic. I've never seen someone as weak as you. Then he changed his tone. Still, it doesn't matter. I helped you, so now it's your turn to help me. Fair enough, right? Zhao Quanhao didn't really want to admit it, but the truth was undeniable. It was he who had asked Max how to deal with the blonde. And so, under Max Hao's lead, Zhao Quanhao followed him without any clear destination in mind. After walking for a while, Max Hao suddenly pointed at one of the hospital beds. Zhao Quanhao looked up and saw the words intensive care unit above it. Max Hao spoke casually. That's my room. Just go in. The moment Zhao Quanhao saw the person lying inside, his mind was completely shaken. The man on the hospital bed looked exactly the same as Max Hao. Max Hao's physical body lay there quietly, hooked up to nutrient drips, completely unresponsive. Zhao Quanhao asked in confusion, I heard from a friend that you died in a car accident. Why is your body still here? Even Max Hao couldn't fully explain it. He only knew that his soul had separated, leaving behind a living corpse. Then Max Hao's expression turned grave. That crash wasn't an accident. He continued, I heard what the detective said during the investigation. There were signs that the brake line had been deliberately cut. That's what caused the crash. On the day of the accident, Max Hao's car had been parked at the demon school, and no one had come to campus that day. Based on all the clues gathered so far, the person who did this had to be someone inside the academy. Don't forget our deal, Zhao Quanhao. I helped you, so now you help me. Find a bastard who did this to me. Zhao Quanhao stared at Max Hao in disbelief. Then, without saying another word, he pulled out his phone and began searching for information. The topic he searched for was simple: how to withdraw from school. Max Hao's expression changed instantly. Didn't you say you'd help me? Why are you talking about dropping out now? Those words made Zhao Quanhao flinch slightly, but he quickly made up his mind. Between his life and a favor, he knew which mattered more. If he went back to that school, he would definitely die. Everyone there was insane. Hearing this, veins bulged at the corner of Max Hao's eyes. He was truly furious. But Zhao Quanhao still felt that such a path was far too terrifying. He was just an ordinary high school student. He couldn't be as tough as Max Hao, nor did he want to live that kind of life. He only wanted an ordinary, peaceful existence. After hearing Zhao Quanhao's words, Max Hao let out a scornful laugh. When I ruled the city and became the Demon King, I was only 17 myself. But if you don't want to do it, then do whatever you want. In that case, I'll act however I please as well. With a soft thud, Zhao Quanhao felt a heavy hand press down against his back. Max Hao spoke in a low, threatening voice. I'll stick to you 24 hours a day, from the moment you open your eyes in the morning to the second you fall asleep at night. Walking, eating, every single moment, I'll be right there. I won't even spare you when you go to the bathroom. If you don't help me get my revenge, I'll cling to you like a leech. 10 years? 20 years? No. Until the day you grow old and die, I'll stay with you. There was no denying it. Max Hao's threat worked. Zhao Quanhao was thoroughly shaken, cold sweat streaming down his face. An hour later, the two returned to Fengtian High School. Before leaving, Max Hao gave one final reminder. A man keeps his word. Help me get my revenge, and I'll leave you cleanly and completely. With those words, Max Hao vanished from sight. With a dull thud, Zhao Quanhao dropped to his knees. This was it. There was no escape. He still had to attend that damn school. But dwelling on it wouldn't help. For now, he decided to head to the cafeteria and eat. After arriving, he was genuinely surprised. The place was filled with dishes he had never tasted before, made from high-end ingredients that made his mouth water. It was his first time hearing of a school cafeteria operating as a buffet. Today, he was determined to eat his fill. Just as Zhao Quanhao was about to push the door open, someone called out to him. He glanced back. The one who stopped him was the blonde guy he had beaten badly earlier that morning, who warned him that this wasn't a place they were allowed to enter. 10 minutes later, under the blonde's guidance, Zhao Quanhao picked up several dishes. But the food smelled strange, and the rice tasted as if it had already gone bad. Furious, Zhao Quanhao flung his tray away on the spot. This wasn't food for students. Even pigs wouldn't eat it. The blonde then explained that this was the standard cafeteria meal. The gourmet dishes Zhao Quanhao had seen earlier were reserved for those with real strength. In this school, food wasn't given, it was earned. Grades and age meant nothing here. The color of the badge worn on each student's chest symbolized their status. Only those with green badges or higher were allowed to eat that kind of food. Zhao Quanhao cursed under his breath. Everyone paid the same tuition. This kind of treatment made no sense at all. What kind of lunatic had come up with such rules? What he didn't know was that the one who established these rules was none other than Max Hao himself. After becoming the king of the demon school, Max Hao had personally set down a series of absurd regulations. Fighting became the sole standard by which everything was judged. And because of that, the academy naturally turned into a living hell. The one responsible for all of it was Max Hao. After hearing the blonde's explanation, Zhao Quanhao glared at Max Hao angrily. "So you're the real culprit behind all this?" The blonde hesitated for a long moment. In the end, he spoke again, offering an apology. "About what happened earlier. I'm sorry, but there was no other choice. I just wanted to survive here." Then his tone shifted, tinged with defiance. "But I don't think I really lost. Those 3 punches earlier might have just been luck. If we fight again, who wins isn't guaranteed." Zhao Quanhao glanced at the blonde's exposed arm. If he wasn't mistaken, the tattoos on it seemed to have faded significantly. The blonde said awkwardly, almost embarrassed, "It's not actually a tattoo. It's just a sticker I bought at the court. I got it to hype myself up. When you're fighting, it makes you look more intimidating." After spending some time with him, Zhao Quanhao realized the blonde wasn't as bad as he had imagined. He was a strange guy, for sure. Just then, a man suddenly appeared behind them, startling both of them. They hadn't noticed him approach at all. The man burst out laughing. "You guys are awesome. You were trying to kill each other earlier, and now you're sitting together eating. That's real manly." He then squatted down in front of the blonde. "What a shame. Your opening rhythm was actually pretty good." Hearing that, the blonde laughed. "Guess I'm not half bad after all." The next second, the man's fist slammed hard into the blonde's face. "Didn't you lose the fight? Do you have any idea how much money you cost me?" Zhao Quanhao was completely confused. He didn't understand what was happening. Why did this guy suddenly start hitting people? Even the blonde looked stunned. After hitting him, the man ordered the blonde to return to his spot and take more punishment. The blonde hesitated, then reluctantly stepped back. With a sharp crack, Zhang Shengtai stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face. Zhao Quanhao couldn't help but wonder why the blonde didn't fight back at all. Over and over again, the blonde returned to his spot, willingly taking the beating. The sheer brutality even sent his glasses flying off his face. The reason Zhang Shengtai was beating him so viciously was simple. He had lost his match against Zhao Quanhao. The deeper reason was that Zhang Shengtai had bet a large sum of money on the blonde, only to lose everything. Naturally, Zhang Shengtai placed all the blame squarely on the blonde. While being beaten, the blonde kept apologizing. "I'm sorry, class president. I'll make it up to you once I have the money." Hearing the word "make it up," Zhang Shengtai's mood finally improved. He then turned to Zhao Quanhao, slung an arm around his shoulder, and said with a grin, "Nice to meet you, transfer student." Zhao Quanhao felt uneasy. If this man truly was the class president, then by Max Hao's rules, he was the strongest among the first years. The badge on his chest was red, the symbol of top-tier status. Zhang Shengtai told Zhao Quanhao to come with him to the campus convenience store. As they walked, he said he'd show Zhao Quanhao around the school. Throughout the entire time, he didn't spare the blonde a single glance, because in his eyes, losers weren't worth noticing. Before leaving, Zhao Quanhao glanced back at the blonde. That lonely figure made him feel an unexpected sense of pity. After arriving at the convenience store, Zhang Shengtai chatted with Zhao Quanhao in a casual, half-hearted manner. When Zhang Shengtai learned that Zhao Quanhao had never received any professional training or combat conditioning, he looked genuinely shocked. Zhao Quanhao insisted he wasn't joking. He had barely even been in real fights before. Zhang Shengtai's eyes lit up as if he had just struck gold. Pulling off combos like that, are you some kind of genius? Before long, they had piled up a mountain of snacks, totaling 24,501. Staring at the heap, Zhao Quanhao felt the price was outrageous, at least 3 times more expensive than outside stores. Zhang Shengtai then turned around and snapped at him. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and pay. You're not expecting me to, are you? Zhao Quanhao was stunned. He only had 30,000 won on him. If he paid, he wouldn't survive the rest of the month. But seeing the cold grin on Zhang Shengtai's face, he didn't dare refuse. Just as he suspected, dragging him to the store was never done with good intentions. The guy was downright greedy. Zhao Quanhao slipped his hand into his pocket, ready to take out the money. Slowly, he reached his hand forward, thinking only one thing: just pay and get out. But there was no feeling of banknotes in his fingers. When he looked up, Zhao Quanhao froze. His hand was making a middle finger gesture. The scene instantly turned awkward, and even Zhao Quanhao himself had no idea why his body had done that. Zhao Quanhao looked at his fingers again and realized that his entire arm was no longer under his control. At that moment, Ma Shihao slowly appeared behind him. If you don't have money, then eat this. Why bother buying that bullshit junk food? Ma Shihao then glared at him in frustration. Can't you see it? Or are you pretending not to? Whatever he asks for, you give it. That's how he's testing you. What you should be doing right now is showing resistance. But Zhao Quanhao couldn't take in a single word. All he wanted was for the class leader not to target him. Just from a man's stance alone, he felt an overwhelming pressure. If it came to a direct fight, he knew he stood no chance. As expected, the class leader's expression darkened completely. Yet in the next instant, he burst out laughing, seemingly easing the tension. You're an interesting kid, got guts and solid fists. Totally different from how you look. I was just messing with you earlier. Only then did Zhao Quanhao realize that Ma Shihao had been right all along. It really had just been a test. The class leader then handed him a yellow name tag. To Zhao Quanhao's surprise, on just his second day at school, his status had already risen, jumping straight from colorless to yellow rank. Zhang Shengtai smiled at Zhao Quanhao. Assigning ranks to transfer students is one of the class leader's duties. From now on, you're officially a member of Demon School. Welcome aboard. I like your personality. From today on, we're friends. Zhao Quanhao couldn't quite understand what that meant. Was it genuine goodwill, or was there another motive behind it? Gradually, more and more classmates began paying attention to him. At the same time, some students quietly chose to distance themselves from him. He had once been stuck in the corner of the classroom, but now he could joke around with the top predator, the class leader himself. Naturally, his status rose with it. The change left Zhao Quanhao feeling oddly warm inside. If this was how things turned out, then it was enough. At least he wouldn't be bullied anymore. He thought to himself that if things stayed this way, calm and orderly, then graduating safely from the school would be good enough. However, the moment he stepped into the classroom, he sensed something was wrong. What caught his eye was a massive insect. With a quick glance, Zhao Quanhao noticed someone holding up a phone, recording the scene. Not far ahead, the blonde-haired boy was holding a tray of food labeled insects. A school bully was filming the scene, ready to upload it online as a bragging clip. It turned out they had bet on the blonde kid and lost badly, so they decided to start a live stream, turning it into an insect-eating show. Zhang Shengtai burst out laughing. Are you guys insane? Ha ha ha. Then he added excitedly, but honestly, this idea is brilliant. How did I not think of it before? As he spoke, Zhang Shengtai grabbed the blonde kid by the face. He warned him coldly, you'd better cooperate and split the live stream profits evenly. Otherwise, you won't like what happens next. The blonde kid clearly didn't want to suffer that humiliation. He clenched his teeth and stayed silent. Zhang Shengtai suddenly seemed to think of something and turned his gaze toward Zhao Chuanhao. He tossed a tray of insects straight into Zhao Chuanhao's hands. With a grin, Zhang Xingtai said, "This livestream theme is fresh. I'm bringing you in on it. You'll feed him, make him eat it." Zhao Chuanhao's face went pale that he had zero interest in doing something like that. Floating nearby, Ma Shihao urged him in a low voice, "Hurry up, Zhao Quanhao do it. If you don't, then you'll be their next target." At that moment, the two school bullies were already forcing the blonde kid's mouth open. If Zhao Chuanhao shoved the insects into his mouth, all the trouble for today would be over. Ma Shihao kept urging him, "Hurry up and feed him. It's not like insects are inedible. They're full of protein, aren't they?" Zhao Chuanhao stared at the insects for a long moment. Something about this just felt wrong to him. But if he refused, the class leader would definitely target him next. Under the class leader's expectant gaze, Zhao Chuanhao suddenly raised his hand and slammed the insects onto the floor. The class leader froze for a split second, anger flashing across his face before he forced it down. "What do you think you're doing?" With his head lowered, Zhao Chuanhao said, "This kind of thing is wrong. We should stop. It's the kind of game even kids wouldn't play, that it's pointless." The class leader stared at him, then burst out laughing. "You really are someone with ideas. But I don't see anything wrong with this. If anything, you're the one crossing the line." The moment he finished speaking, a sharp slap cracked across Zhao Chuanhao's face, sending him flying. "You've got ideas, sure, but no sense of fun. What a disappointment." The class leader's fist slammed down again and again on Zhao Chuanhao's face. His rage had a reason. Zhao Chuanhao had touched the thing he despised the most: unrealistic ideals. What he hated most were those so-called principles, because they restrained people's actions. As he spoke, the class leader raised his hand once more. This time, his strikes were far faster, 18 slaps in just 2.5 seconds. In this school, without strength, all you can do is get beaten. That's reality. Listening to the class leader ramble on, Zhao Chuanhao suddenly felt those words sounded familiar, as if he had heard them somewhere before. Zhao Chuanhao realized that Ma Shihao had said the same thing before. Back at the hospital, he had told him that in this world, having no strength meant getting beaten. That was reality. It seemed they truly came from the same world, with almost identical tone and meaning in their words. Zhang Shengtai grabbed Zhao Chuanhao by the collar and said coldly, "Didn't you understand the law of the strong devouring the weak before coming to this school?" Zhao Chuanhao panted heavily. He finally realized that his naive way of thinking had to be discarded. Whether it was Zhang Shengtai or Ma Shihao, what they said was simply the truth of the world. At the same time, the class president sensed something was off. This guy's presence had changed. Zhao Chuanhao grabbed the class president's hand and said quietly, "You're right that I end this school. It really is survival of the fittest." The next second, his head slammed straight into Zhang Shengtai's nose. Everyone was stunned. They couldn't believe someone had dared to strike such a powerful class president. The sudden blow sent blood pouring from Zhang Shengtai's nose and mouth. With a heavy crash, the class president flipped over and slammed into the ground. Zhao Chuanhao calmly adjusted his collar. "Just a small fry with a red badge, and you dare act arrogant in front of me." At that moment, the urban demon king Ma Shihao officially took over. Ma Shihao looked at Zhao Chuanhao floating above and said flatly, "Next time, don't let yourself get beaten down before letting me take control." However, Zhao Chuanhao's next words made Ma Shihao pause. This time, Zhao Chuanhao had a different idea. Not just the bullies in the classroom, but even the school badge on his collar. He wanted Ma Shihao to destroy everything here. Ma Shihao froze for a moment, not fully understanding what that meant. Earlier, Ma Shihao had proposed a deal to Zhao Chuanhao that he originally intended to use Zhao Chuanhao's body to carry out his revenge. Now, Zhao Chuanhao agreed that he would help Ma Shihao find the person who framed him. In return, Ma Shihao had to personally destroy the school rules he had created that if he refused, Zhao Chuanhao would immediately drop out and leave the city. Ma Shihao froze for a moment. Destroying the demon school requires overwhelming strength. With this weak body alone, how could that ever happen? Don't kid yourself. This broken body even managed to fracture its own hand in a fight. Hearing that, Zhao Chuanhao snapped, "If you're that unconfident, then we go our separate ways." As they spoke, two figures rushed toward them, and Xiao, it didn't even spare them a glance. Just a bunch of small fry. He spun around instantly and kicked the man in red straight in the groin. The man's face stiffened, tears bursting out on the spot. "You little lackeys," rushing in before I even finished talking. How rude. Ma Shihao clenched his fist, charged up, and threw a straight punch, sending the red-clad man flying. The punch was devastating, launching him nearly 10 meters through the air. In that brief opening, another student swung a chair down at them. Ma Shihao shifted his body slightly and slipped past the attack. In the same instant, his knee was already driving toward the man's face. With a dull crack, the knee smashed straight into the bridge of his nose. The students around them were stunned, ranked second and third in Class 4, Grade 1, were being completely overwhelmed. Both of them wore yellow nameplates on their chests. Now they lay on the ground like drowned dogs, wailing in pain. This time, Ma Shihao agreed to Zhao Chuanhao's proposal without hesitation. He came for revenge, while Zhao Chuanhao came to tear down the pretense. With their goals aligned, they joined forces. Ma Shihao shouted loudly, "From this moment on, I will crush the demon school." At that instant, applause suddenly echoed through the classroom. Everyone turned toward the sound at once. Even Ma Shihao looked surprised. He admitted every word. This wasn't a joke. Why would anyone clap? When he turned his head, it was the class president clapping while laughing uncontrollably. The class president pulled his legs together and sprang up with a clean kip-up, pushing himself upright with a bit of arm strength. ITC Ma Shihao's earlier attack hadn't done much damage. He stepped forward slowly until he stood in front of Ma Shihao. "Good, you've really pissed me off now. You really don't value your life, do you?" The scene inside the classroom instantly set the hallway buzzing. Looks like there was another show to watch. Students quickly realized the newcomer who won the welcome fight was challenging again. In no time, the doorway was packed with onlookers. Some even eagerly cleared space for the duel. Desks and chairs were dragged to the sides. Soon, a rough ring was formed. This fight was clearly going to decide the strongest in the grade. With a sharp flick, a folding fan snapped open. The man in the floral shirt arrived as well, announcing that he'd be the bookmaker for today, and that bets were open. The next second, Zhang Shengtai raised 5 fingers, signaling a bet of 500,000 won. That kind of confidence was outrageous. He was betting that much on himself. Of course, he didn't have the cash on him, so it was all on credit that, in his mind, victory was guaranteed. The heavy-set guy sighed. Helpless. "Man, why are you like this every time? You've already run up a huge tab. You know that." Zhang Xingtai didn't care that he did owe the fat guy a lot, but this time he'd pay it back with interest. To Zhang Shengtai, this duel was basically free money. The only cost was loosening up his joints a bit. The 2 lackeys behind him kept hyping him up. "Boss, stomp him flat. Smash what's left of his arms, too." Even the blonde kid who'd been bullied by the class president earlier was cheering, like he didn't care about what had been done to him. Ma Shihao looked at Zhao Chuanhao with amused interest. "You're really alone, huh? Not a single person cheering for you." Zhao Chuanhao answered seriously. "Take the match seriously. Don't forget this is a deal. Say it once, mean it. If you win and destroy this school's rules, Zhao Chuanhao will help you get revenge. But if you lose for real, we go our separate ways. The deal is void, and Zhao Chuanhao leaves this city." Ma Shihao clicked his tongue. "SSIBA. That's the big brain plan you came up with. What a loser, pathetic." Then Ma Shihao stepped forward slowly. Today, he was going to show Zhao Chuanhao what a real demon king looked like. Ma Shihao stood right in front of the class president, staring him down, battle intent written all over his face, his presence not losing an inch. Zhang Shengtai narrowed his slit-like eyes again. "Destroy the demon school. Big talk for a nobody." Ma Shihao chuckled. "I'll start from the bottom, step by step. When you think about it, this might actually be fun." In the next instant, Ma Shihao struck first. His left fist cut through the air, shooting straight for Zhang Shengtai's face. Zhang Shengtai didn't even take it seriously. With a slight twist of his body, he dodged the punch effortlessly. Only then did Ma Shihao sense something was wrong. Zhang Shengtai was clearly no ordinary lackey. That razor-sharp reaction speed said it all. Ma Shihao tested him again, and just as expected, no matter how he attacked, Zhang Shengtai evaded with ease. Even Zhao Qianhao was seeing this for the first time. Ma Shihao was getting shut down completely, his attacks doing absolutely nothing. Instead of getting frustrated, Ma Shihao grew excited. Not bad at red badge level. No wonder your way's stronger than those yellow ones. Zhang Shengtai remained calm. Likewise, your punching speed isn't bad either. The moment his words ended, a heavy punch slammed into Ma Shihao's cheek. Zhang Shengtai's strike was lightning fast, leaving Ma Shihao no time to react at all. By the time Ma Shihao realized what was happening, it was already too late. Zhang Shengtai's fist came like a gale, firing 3 punches in 0.25 seconds, every single one landing cleanly. Just as Ma Shihao was about to counter, the class monitor swiftly pulled back again, his light footwork flowing smoothly like water. Every one of those probing moves was exactly what Ma Shihao expected. As a natural-born fighter, Ma Shihao could tell at a glance that Zhang Shengtai's light steps came from proper, professional training. There was also the straight extension of his punches. No matter the angle, his fists never bent. From those few exchanges alone, Ma Shihao could tell this guy had trained in Eastern-style boxing. It seemed this academy was still the same as ever, constantly producing all kinds of combat prodigies. This style was common in formal boxing gyms. Zhang Shengtai's 2 lackeys kept bragging from the sidelines. This isn't something you can just learn on a whim. The blonde-haired boy slowly revealed Zhang Shengtai's record. He's one of the elites of our grade. 20 matches, 17 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses. Zhang Shengtai was already competing in boxing at 15, and even took a championship. That was why they believed someone like Zhao Qianhao, fighting this way, had no chance of beating Zhang Shengtai. Ma Shihao felt extremely irritated. If he still had his old physique, 2 punches would be enough to KO Zhang Shengtai. Seeing the frustration on Zhao Qianhao's face, Zhang Shengtai let out a long breath. Then he burst out laughing. Judging by your face, you're scared stiff, aren't you? Even though Zhang Shengtai was a school bully, he still had his pride. So he made a decision to fight Ma Shihao using only his left hand. That blatant insult infuriated Ma Shihao. Are you looking down on me? Before he could finish, Zhang Shengtai was already right in front of him. With a simple jab, a sharp whoosh cut through the air. Judging by the drive from his left leg, he put full power into it, clean and stylish. Only one thought flashed through Ma Shihao's mind. Fast. Even if he'd been careless for a split second, no ordinary person could have closed the distance like that. In a rush, Ma Shihao threw a punch to intercept, but it felt weak and ineffective. Zhang Shengtai spun and smashed another left straight into Ma Shihao's abdomen. Zhang Shengtai's fighting talent was undeniable. After landing a hit, he immediately reset the distance. Then, catching his opponent as the momentum faded and before strength could be regenerated, he lunged in with another punch. Taking hit after hit made Ma Shihao realize that if he stayed this passive, defeat was inevitable. Even Zhang Shengtai, his opponent, kept urging him on. Get it together, stay sharp, that's what makes it fun. With Ma Shihao stuck on defense, Zhang Shengtai seized the opening and burst forward with a 5-hit flurry. The crowd went wild. The class monitor was moving so fast, no one could even track his limbs. This transfer student's done for. For a moment, Ma Shihao was completely on the back foot, pressed relentlessly by Zhang Shengtai. Watching everyone cheer for Zhang Shengtai, Zhao Qianhao hesitated, wondering if he should cheer for Ma Shihao too. But if Ma Shihao lost, that wouldn't be so bad either. It would be a clean excuse to terminate the contract. If Ma Shihao ever found out, he'd probably explode. Helping someone fight and not even getting cheered on was one thing. Secretly hoping he'd lose was another. Watching Ma Shihao get battered, Zhao Xuanhao kept praying to himself, please just give up already. Yet in the middle of the struggle between Ma Shihao and Zhang Shengtai, something caught his eye. Ma Shihao was smiling the entire time. And no matter how many hits he took, the smile never faded. Even Zhang Shengtai was confused. He couldn't read that expression at all. Was it the grin of someone facing a true rival? The thought flashed through his mind, and Zhang Shengtai suddenly pulled back a step. Then another straight punch came roaring in that he wanted to ask why Ma Shihao was smiling, but now wasn't the moment. To his surprise, the punch missed, and that instantly created a perfect opening for a counterattack. Ma Shihao spoke in a low voice, I finally caught your opening. All I have to do is dodge your attacks. That move lacked any real technique, though. Zhang Shengtai slipped past it effortlessly. Ma Shihao didn't give up. If that won't work, then I'll switch targets. His foot came down hard on Zhang Shengtai's toes. The timing of that stomp was spot on. Zhang Shengtai's balance wavered, his body on the verge of tipping over. Seizing the moment, Ma Shihao leapt up, ready to deliver a decisive blow. Zhang Shengtai sensed danger, and no matter how fierce the attack was, he had to protect his head. Otherwise, he'd be finished. Ma Shihao silently praised that reaction that IT was solid, but his own response speed was no worse. If the head was guarded, then the target had to change. In a split second, both made the right call. Ma Shihao stomped down on Zhang Shengtai's ankle, the strike carrying a piercing force. The ankle was a vulnerable spot. One solid hit, there was more than enough to cripple someone. After landing the blow, Ma Shihao unleashed a barrage of kicks onto the ankle. You were hopping around like a rabbit just now, huh? Go on, try jumping again. Just as he was pressing the attack, a heavy kick slammed into his back from behind. It was Zhang Shengtai, twisting mid-motion to land a counterkick squarely on Ma Shihao's back. By now, Zhang Shengtai no longer looked confident that he staggered like a cripple, limping with each step. Ma Shihao, however, was like a cockroach that refused to die, relentlessly striking at every weak point. He knew he had to finish this. No mercy, no breathing room, that if he hesitated, he'd be the one to lose. Some in the crowd cursed him for fighting dirty, while the man in the floral shirt calmly analyzed the situation. He had already seen through Ma Shihao's approach. Starting from the legs was textbook strategy against a boxer. He still couldn't understand it. Why did a boy who looked like complete trash know fighting so well? That familiarity felt almost identical to Ma Shihao back in his prime. At the same time, the fight reached a boiling point. Ma Shihao pressed forward relentlessly, leaving Zhang Shengtai struggling to keep up. The onlookers were stunned. Was this transfer student really about to turn the tables? The nonstop chatter from the crowd made Zhang Shengtai increasingly irritated. He was Zhang Shengtai, the strongest in the grade. How could he lose to some nobody? In a burst of rage, he forced his way through and countered with a heavy punch to Ma Shihao's face. Ma Shihao staggered backward. The punch was just as fast as ever, catching him slightly off guard. Yet Ma Shihao smiled, because Zhang Shengtai had used his other hand, despite claiming before the fight that he'd only use one. Under Ma Shihao's relentless pressure, he had no choice but to break that promise. Deep down, Zhang Shengtai admitted it. Without using his right hand, he would lose for sure. The next second, he rushed in and slammed another punch straight into Ma Shihao's forehead. The blow was brutal, nearly caving in his face. Just as Ma Shihao's body was about to collapse, he stomped forward. To everyone's shock, Ma Shihao took the punch head-on with his face. Seeing this, Zhang Shengtai tried to push for a second burst, but a tearing, unbearable pain exploded through his leg. At the same time, a large hand locked firmly around his wrist. Ma Shihao let out a cold chuckle. Looks like your leg can't move anymore. So now it's my turn to strike back, right? Ma Shihao twisted his body, setting up for a heavy counterpunch. Zhang Shengtai sensed disaster. Today he had kicked solid steel. In his eyes, Ma Shihao's arm wrapped in plaster now looked like a war hammer. Under the stunned gazes of everyone present, Ma Shihao's fist smashed brutally into Zhang Shengtai's cheek. Zhang Shengtai's body flew backward like a cannonball. With Ma Shihao controlling Zhao Chuanhao's body, the strongest student of the grade was defeated. His record at Demon School: 2 battles, 2 victories. And with that, he claimed the title of class president of Class 1 to 4. A school where everything is decided by fists is deeply twisted. But that year, Class 1 to 4 became the exception. Their new class rule was simple: no campus violence. From then on, rank and order were no longer decided by fists. In this class, everyone was equal, except Zhao Chuanhao. At that moment, the former 2nd and 3rd rank students were lifting a chair and hoisting Zhao Chuanhao up. Zhao Chuanhao was completely stunned. This was not how he imagined things turning out. Just then, the blonde kid kicked both of them hard. "You tilted the boss's head 90 degrees. Is that how you do things?" The two were clearly unhappy. There was supposed to be no hierarchy anymore. So why were they getting hit? The blonde kid puffed out his chest proudly. "I'm the boss's #1 subordinate. So what if I hit you?" Zhao Chuanhao remembered clearly. Ma Shihao had only taken him in as a lackey, not a subordinate. But the blonde kid didn't care that a thigh this thick had to be hugged tight. Still, this outcome wasn't what Zhao Chuanhao wanted. He never wanted to become the class leader. Ma Shihao explained calmly. If they wanted to change the school, they had to use strength to re-establish order. Zhao Chuanhao couldn't understand it. If we want to destroy the demon school, wouldn't it be enough to just make it normal again? Ma Shihao let out a long sigh, clearly unwilling to argue, and shot back. "Do you think change comes from talking? Or giving a speech over the PA system? There's only one way. You have to stand at the very top of this school. Only then can you change its rules." Zhao Chuanhao was shaken. Ma Shihao's idea was completely insane. At that moment, Ma Shihao grabbed Zhao Chuanhao by the head and said, "I'll take care of the school. Now it's your turn to help me." Shortly after, they arrived at Fengtian Hospital. Zhao Chuanhao once again stepped into the intensive care unit. Ma Shihao's physical body was still lying on the hospital bed. This state was clearly the result of someone setting him up. Zhao Chuanhao asked, "Did you have any enemies at school?" Ma Shihao thought for a moment and replied, "Quite a few. Actually, that I got in way too many fights. For example, Quan Chiuyong from the 3rd year, and Yong Sik from the 2nd year. Those are just the ones with a bit of reputation. The nobodies? There are even more." Ma Shihao burst out laughing. "At that school, finding someone I didn't beat up is way harder. With enemies everywhere." Zhao Chuanhao slowly pulled open a drawer. He wanted to see if Ma Shihao had left behind any clues before the accident. Soon, he found a damaged phone and asked Ma Shihao to turn it on. He then opened Ma Shihao's social media account. There were plenty of posts. Almost every photo showed Ma Shihao with a group of followers behind him. Several of the posts read like this: "We may not have been born on the same ship, but we are family." From the photo album alone, it was clear that Ma Shihao treated his followers like real family. Zhao Chuanhao could barely stand looking at it. The captions were painfully edgy. Ma Shihao explained that this so-called family was known as the Demon King's clan. They had laughed together, fought together, and bled together. Even now, Ma Shihao still missed those days. To him, that was what people called a bond between strangers. Suddenly, a hand snatched the phone out of Zhao Chuanhao's grasp. He turned around and saw a long-haired young woman standing there. The moment he saw her, Zhao Chuanhao's face flushed instinctively. He had seen her before, back when they crossed paths at the school gate. The girl asked coldly, "Why do you have my brother's phone?" Zhao Chuanhao's heart skipped a beat. Was she Ma Shihao's sister? He glanced back instinctively, only to realize that Ma Shihao was already gone. The girl stepped forward and demanded, "Why are you here? And who exactly are you?" Zhao Chuanhao stammered, I came because someone asked me to." A sharp slap rang out. Without warning, her palm crashed into his cheek. Zhao Chuanhao stood there in a daze, completely confused by what had just happened. The girl suddenly grabbed her backpack and started swinging it at him wildly, The team never expected such a beautiful girl to be this violent. In less than 2.5 seconds, she kicked him straight out of the hospital room. She snapped, "Tell Jean Tong I'll get the money together this week. Tell him to stop sending people to harass me." Bang! The door slammed shut. Zhao Chuanhao was left speechless. He had no idea who Jean Tong was. He didn't even recognize the name. Just as the thought crossed his mind, a man's voice sounded from behind him. The man was huge, built like a tank, muscles packed tight across his body. He walked up and said, "I'm the Jean Tong you're talking about, so what did you want with me?" When Zhao Chuanhao failed to respond, the man turned and walked straight into Ma Shihao's hospital room. Watching the man called Jean Tong, Zhao Chuanhao felt a strange sense of familiarity. After a moment, he realized this guy had once been one of Ma Shihao's lackeys. Zhao Chuanhao quietly crept over to the door and peeked inside. Since the man called Jean Tong had come to visit, it was clear he had a close connection with Ma Shihao. Inside the room, Ma Hao had just finished tucking Ma Shihao in. She had been taking care of her brother for a long time now, with no idea when he would finally wake up. Just then, she heard the door creak open. Ma Hao instinctively turned her head. Standing there was Jean Tong, the person she hated the most. Her expression darkened instantly. What the hell was this guy doing here? Jean Tong frowned, annoyed by her lack of manners. "You should be calling me Brother Jean Tong." Ma Hao couldn't even be bothered to respond. Jean Tong cursed under his breath. He couldn't understand it. He was the creditor, yet he was always the one being hated by the borrowers. Ma Hao worked at a convenience store, but her paycheck hadn't been issued on time, so she failed to repay on schedule. What she never expected was that just 2 days of delay resulted in a 15% overdue fee. Jean Tong insisted coldly that time was money, and 15% interest was non-negotiable. Furious, Ma Hao snapped, "Isn't that excessive? You said you were my brother's friend. Now you're charging me loan shark rates?" At the word friend, Jean Tong glanced at Ma Shihao lying on the hospital bed. He then took a sharp breath in. The next second, he spat a thick glob of phlegm straight onto Ma Shihao's face. Zhao Chuanhao froze, completely stunned by the scene. Even Ma Hao never imagined he would do something so humiliating. Jean Tong sneered, "I never considered Ma Shihao a friend. Not just me. None of us ever did. To me, Ma Shihao was nothing more than a dumb brute who could fight. Back then, whenever we ran into trouble, all we had to do was call him, and he'd come deal with it. Even if it was the king of hell himself, he'd charge straight in. You can't ask for a better hired fist. Ha ha." After hearing that, Ma Hao clenched her teeth in rage. She swung her hand, trying to slap Jean Tong. Unfortunately, her strength meant nothing in front of him. In Jean Tong's eyes, Ma Hao was no different from trash, because she owed money and hadn't paid it back. And when it came to trash that refused to repay their debts, Jean Tong had only one method: simple, brutal violence, until the money came out. Just as Jean Tong was about to strike, a doctor pushed the door open. The doctor spoke urgently. How is the patient's condition right now? He and the nurse immediately began examining Ma Shihao, completely ignoring the argument behind them. Interrupted by the medical staff, Jean Tong lost interest. He tossed out a final line before leaving. "I'll stop here today. I won't trouble you, but you'd better repay on time." After the examination, the doctor confirmed that the patient was in stable condition and frowned in confusion, but that student said the patient was in critical condition just now. At the mention of that student, Ma Hao immediately thought of him. At that moment, he was staring at Jean Tong as he left the room. "Ma Shihao, are these the so-called family you talked about? To me, he's nothing but trash." He sensed something wrong behind him and glanced back. What he saw was Ma Shihao, furious to the extreme. Tears streamed down Ma Shihao's face as he told him to shut up. He didn't want to hear a single word right now. That afternoon, they returned to Fengtian High School. He tracked down Yellow Hair and asked him about Jean Tong. He wanted to know what kind of person Jean Tong was, what level of strength he had, and what kind of backing stood behind him. To his surprise, Yellow Hair was thrilled. "Boss, have you already thought this far ahead? Just 1 year ago, the so-called Demon King family still ruled the entire school. But after the Demon King's car accident, Magic High split into multiple factions that now ruled the academy together. Among them, the most powerful faction was called Xiaoshang, and Jin Tong was the leader of the Xiaoshang faction. As for Jin Tong's strength, Yellow Hair couldn't say much. He only knew that Jin Tong was incredibly powerful. After sharing the information, he even gave him a respectful salute. He began to suspect that Jin Tong might be the one who framed Ma Shihao. After all, from his perspective, none of the so-called family Ma Shihao talked about seemed like good people. Just then, loud noises erupted from a room behind them. Driven by curiosity, he and Yellow Hair moved closer and looked inside. What they saw was a group of people beating Zhang Shengtai. Zhang Shengtai slowly got back on his feet. With his leg injured, he was no longer able to fight them head-on. He forced a smile and asked, "Why are all of you following me?" Standing in front of him were members of the Xiaoshang faction. Behind him stood the man in the floral shirt, who said coldly, "Money you borrow has to be paid back on time. 50,000 won in principal, and with interest, the total comes to 30 million won." It turned out that during Ma Shihao and Zhang Shengtai's match, Zhang Shengtai had bet 50,000 won on himself. Zhang Shengtai froze 50,000 turning into 30 million, 600 times over. He chuckled and admitted he had no money at all. Park Min-soo knew perfectly well that there was no way to collect the debt. The guy was flat broke. So he offered Zhang Shengtai a deal, work under him, earn a monthly wage, and use it to pay off the debt over time. Hearing Park Min-soo's words, Zhang Shengtai burst out laughing that it was the funniest joke he'd heard all day. He pointed at the people in front of him and said, "So you're inviting me to join Xiaoshang? To become a dog like you guys?" The moment those words landed, every Xiaoshang member exploded in rage. Someone immediately rushed forward, ready to teach Zhang Shengtai a lesson. "You've got a sharp mouth, punk?" But his attack was easily dodged by Zhang Shengtai. Zhang Shengtai bent his leg, coiled his strength, and drove his left fist straight into the man's stomach. The punch was so powerful that the man lost consciousness on the spot. Zhang Shengtai had no interest in wasting words on underlings. He dashed forward, heading straight for their leader. He knew exactly what it meant to take the king first. Facing the fat man, Zhang Shengtai went all out, twisting his waist and landing a lightning-fast punch on Park Min-soo's nose. The result, however, left Zhang Shengtai disappointed. With his leg injured, he could no longer unleash his peak strength. On top of that, the man's massive build absorbed most of the impact, making the punch almost meaningless. Park Min-soo casually kicked out, using brute force to knock Zhang Shengtai to the ground. With a loud crash, Zhang Shengtai slammed heavily onto the ground, the impact echoing dully. Just as he was about to struggle back up, one of Park Min-soo's men kicked him square in the face. Immediately after, four others rushed in, raining punches and kicks down on him. Watching Zhang Shengtai being beaten, I could do nothing but stand aside. Thinking back on what he had done to me during this time, the guy honestly had it coming. So I had no intention of letting Ma Shihao take over to help him out of this mess. Meanwhile, Zhang Shengtai, beaten by 4 or 5 people at once, was already bleeding. Park Min-soo looked displeased. "I was planning to take you in as my subordinate, but you answered me with your fist. That's pretty awkward for me." Even in defeat, Zhang Shengtai's presence remained intimidating. He gritted his teeth and said, "If my leg weren't injured, you'd have been knocked out by that hit." That sentence immediately caught Park Min-soo's attention. The key word was injured. Park Min-soo had been watching the fight the whole time, and he knew exactly which leg was hurt, the left one. He ordered his men to pin Zhang Shengtai down tightly. Then Park Min-soo's large hand clamped firmly around Zhang Shengtai's ankle to avoid future trouble. He decided to cripple Zhang Shengtai's foot today. When it comes to enemies, you eliminate the problem at the root. Just as Park Min-soo was about to make his move, someone stepped into the room. The sudden movement startled everyone, and they all turned their heads at once. To everyone's surprise, it was the yellow-haired kid. He shouted, "You fat bastard, touching anyone from class 4 of year 1 is basically asking to die." The way he entered actually carried some real presence, freezing the room for a brief moment. Hearing that, my heart nearly stopped. Show off all you want, but don't drag my name into it. The kid's cool moment didn't last 3 seconds before a foot slammed straight into his face. His entire body was sent flying by that single kick. The members of Xiaoshang burst out laughing. What an idiot. He actually thought he could act tough in front of us. Seeing this, I immediately turned to leave. At the very least, I needed to find a teacher. Just then, the yellow-haired kid suddenly called out to me, making me flinch. He confidently claimed he could handle all of them by himself and told me to just stand aside and watch. As soon as he finished speaking, Park Min-soo's sharp gaze locked onto me. With just one look, his men understood the signal. One of them quickly grabbed me by the collar. It was clear they were about to beat me down. My heart sank. There was no choice left. I had to switch accounts. Clang, the sound of metal colliding rang out. I slammed the thug's head hard in the iron door. The look in his eyes changed instantly, filled with pure terror. He had already raised his fist to strike, while the thug's body was pinned by the iron door, completely unable to move, left with no choice but to take the beating. Bang! With a heavy crash, the thug's legs gave out and he dropped to his knees, losing consciousness on the spot. The yellow-haired kid sneered inwardly. Once the boss steps in, these guys are finished. He slowly pulled the door apart. Even he hadn't expected Ma Shihao's reaction to be that fast. 1 second was all it took to deal with the opponent. At him, Shihao's eyes gleamed with excitement. Another fight. This felt amazing. With a loud clang, Ma Shihao yanked the iron door completely open. Ever since learning about Jin Tong's betrayal, his frustration had been building up. Now, he needed to vent it properly in this cramped room. At that moment, an unlucky thug charged forward alone, completely unaware that the man in front of him was a buffed urban demon king, Ma Shihao. A twist of the waist, a clean turn, and a single heavy punch smashed straight into the man's face. As the fist landed, a faint cracking sound echoed. The thug was sent flying more than 10 meters, crashing into the others behind him, showing just how brutal the punch was. From their perspective, Ma Shihao's presence was overwhelming. Even with a fractured right arm, his combat power hadn't dropped at all. Ma Shihao curled his finger, signaling them to come at him together. Today, he intended to vent every ounce of frustration onto these people. Park Min-soo, however, remained calm. A seasoned thug himself. There was no way he'd be intimidated by a mere transfer student. Besides, at worst it was 1 versus 4. They held the clear numerical advantage. Hearing Park Min-soo's words, Zhang Shengtai immediately pushed himself up from the ground. Now it was 4 against 2. Even the yellow-haired kid rushed over, turning it into 4 against 3. In Zhang Shengtai's eyes, though, the yellow-haired kid only counted as half a fighter, so realistically, it was 4 versus 2.5. As for how many people were on each side, Ma Shihao didn't care in the slightest. Right now, all he wanted was a full-on brawl. He shouted at Park Min-soo's group, "Come on, let's fight, you bastards, bunch of small-time punks." Ma Shihao's eyes were nearly manic, and that look alone sent a chill through Park Min-soo. The minor thugs, however, were completely oblivious to how dangerous the situation had become and charged forward recklessly, perfectly illustrating the gap between small-time punks and real heavyweights. Fortunately, Park Min-soo stepped in just in time. That's enough, don't fight him. With that, he turned around and led his men away. Before leaving, he shot the 3 of them a long, meaningful look. "I've memorized all 3 of your faces, that I'm always up for a fight, but next time, it has to be somewhere crowded. That way, I can place bets." 10 minutes later, they gathered at a corner of the athletic field to talk things over. Based on the information provided by Zhang Shengtai, Zhao Qiwenhao learned that Park Min-soo was the one managing all gambling activities within the school. Zhao Qiwenhao asked, puzzled, if he's just managing it, shouldn't he only be charging a brokerage fee? Zhang Shengtai explained, Gambling is just one of their operations. Their real business is loan sharking. They prepare contracts that look perfectly legitimate, then secretly take the parents' seals and stamp them onto the agreements. Taking advantage of students' lack of financial awareness, they lure them into borrowing money, then pile on outrageous interest. Over time, the interest grows to several times the original principal. There was even a period when dozens of students, unable to repay their debts, quietly transferred schools. Some families even moved out of the city entirely. And the truly despicable part begins when they can no longer repay the loans at all. Using the debt as leverage, the group engages in financial extortion, forcing students to steal, run errands, or do all kinds of shady work. They then semi-coercively pull these victims into the organization known as xiaoshan. At present, the group has amassed over 100 members, making it extremely powerful. It is a full-fledged criminal organization. If something isn't illegal, they won't touch it. Their leader lives by a single creed. Money isn't everything, but without money, you're nothing. At the same time, as Jin Tong said those words, a trembling student was crouched at his feet. With one kick, he sent the student flying. Jin Tong then pulled out the so-called loan contract. In plain black and white, it stated clearly, "You borrowed 3 million won. Now you owe 21 million." The man said quietly that he had no money left. The 3 million won he originally borrowed had already been repaid. Everything else was pure interest. Jin Tong sneered that he had no interest in arguing with someone like that, but letting him off without punishment would leave a bad taste in his mouth. He ordered the man to hold out his hand. He planned to teach him a lesson with a burning cigarette, but then he said coldly, "If you owe money, you pay it on time. That if you can't pay, then you work as my slave to repay the debt." If the man refused, what awaited him would be nothing short of hell. Jin Tong then told him to get lost and ordered him to report here every day before school from now on. With a loud clank, the IOU was tossed into the safe, which already contained 2 thick stacks of loan contracts. The safe door slammed shut. If all that money was collected, he would soon become a minor tycoon. Shortly afterward, Park Min-soo reported everything that had happened that day to Jin Tong. Jin Tong looked annoyed. "You took 5 people out and came back empty-handed?" Park Min-soo replied that solving the problem wouldn't be hard. If the boss was willing to spend a little money, he could take care of it immediately. The answer was a sharp slap. This idiot actually dared to ask him for money. At such a high price, no lest he was asking to die. Shock filled Park Min-soo's eyes. He didn't dare lose his temper. All he could do was nod repeatedly and promise that the matter would be handled properly. As for how it would be done, that was entirely up to him, that he could freely mobilize anyone within the group. The goal was simple, to make them understand just how terrifying money could be. Meanwhile, he stopped by a convenience store to buy something. Ma Shihao was seething with anger, saying they should never have let those people leave. They should have crushed them first, then gone straight to challenge Jin Tong. He, however, felt completely indifferent. What did any of this have to do with him? He hadn't borrowed a single one from them. Besides, this wasn't his place to interfere. Even if it was called loan extortion, the fact remained that everyone had borrowed the money themselves. Those words infuriated Ma Shihao, who cursed him as a coward with no backbone, saying he'd never seen anyone so spineless. He couldn't be bothered to argue that if Ma Shihao used his body to fight, then he was the one who got hurt, and his hand was still throbbing. To avoid further conflict, he walked up to the counter to pay. To his surprise, the cashier turned out to be Ma Hao, who was working part-time there. He froze for a moment, not expecting such a coincidence. He asked, "What are you doing here?" Ma Hao replied with a helpless look, "You're the one who walked into this store, you know." Then she asked if he had time, wondering if he could stay and chat with her for a bit. 3 minutes later, he followed Ma Hao to the back of the convenience store and was stunned by her sharp, confident presence. She shot him a casual glance. "You idiot! Hurry up and drink your cola, that's on me. Stop staring at me." He immediately popped the can and took a gulp, thinking to himself, Ma Hao didn't seem anything like Ma Shihao at all. In fact, she was unexpectedly cute, exactly his type. Then Ma Hao brought up the slap at the hospital. Feeling awkward, he said he was already used to it, and given the situation back then, the misunderstanding was understandable, but he didn't blame her. Ever since the first day of school, he'd basically been getting beaten nonstop. Whoever saw him seemed eager to throw a punch. So even without an apology, it was fine. But Ma Hao's next words left him stunned. "I never said I was apologizing. Though yeah, hitting you like that wasn't quite right. Kid, did I hurt you?" He froze. She actually called him a kid. They looked about the same age. Just from those two lines, he was 100% certain she was Ma Shihao's younger sister. That lack of manners was exactly the same. Ma Hao kept pressing him. "Why were you in my brother's hospital room?" He looked straight into her eyes and said seriously, "Do you really think your brother ended up like that because of an accident?" Ma Hao's eyes widened. Was there something more going on behind all this? At that moment, a customer entered the convenience store and interrupted their conversation. As Ma Hao turned to leave, he stopped her. "Actually, there's something I want to ask you. Why did you borrow money from Jean Tong?" He didn't get an answer. She simply walked back in the store. But his question was soon answered by Ma Shihao behind him. She borrowed money because of him. There was no need to overthink. A Shihao had been in a coma, and someone had to cover the sky-high medical and hospitalization costs to afford the four-person ward fees. Ma Hao had no choice but to take on part-time jobs. For a girl, the daily workload was exhausting, yet she never complained. All the scattered medical expenses added up to over 1 million won a month. To barely keep up with the bills, Ma Hao worked 4 jobs at the same time. Even where she slept was just the small bed inside Ma Shihao's hospital room. After realizing all this, he suddenly understood how hard Ma Shihao's sister had been living. As her brother, Ma Shihao couldn't protect her at all. Instead, he had to rely on his own sister to take care of him. He felt Ma Hao was truly impressive. They were the same age, yet she was carrying a life far harder than his. But those words made Ma Shihao suspicious. "What's with that look? Are you feeling sorry for my sister? Don't tell me you like her." The next second, Ma Shihao grabbed his cheek and pulled it up. "You'd better know your place. A loser like you isn't worthy of my sister." He felt his face heat up. His thoughts had been seen through instantly that he couldn't admit it. If he did, getting beaten would be inevitable. So he made a decision and shouted back, "Your sister works herself to the bone for you. Can't you do something for her?" A curve appeared at the corner of Ma Shihao's mouth. "That's exactly what I was waiting for you to say." That only left him confused. What was this guy planning now? Half an hour later, Ma Shihao brought him in front of a cabinet. Inside were all kinds of luxury brand items, along with several gold bracelets. Ma Shihao said, "If we sell everything in this cabinet, it should be enough to pay off the debt." Then he glanced at his almost transparent hands and sighed. "But in my current state, I can't do anything myself." After saying that, he suddenly grew shy. "Zhao Chuanhao, help me pass a message to my sister. Thank her for taking care of me all this time, please." He froze completely. He never imagined that the once invincible Ma Shihao would actually say the word please. But he wasn't in the mood to tease him. Right now, the priority was figuring out how to get rid of those items. Fortunately, Ma Shihao had been glorious once and had left behind a considerable amount of wealth. Just as they were about to head to the second-hand market to sell the luxury goods, a sudden, urgent boss came from behind, catching his attention. He turned around and saw that it was Little Yellow Hair and Zhang Shengtai. What he couldn't understand was why they were running so frantically down the hallway. When he was about to greet them, the two rushed straight past him instead. At the same time, they turned their heads and shouted, "Run! There's a whole crowd coming to beat us up." He instinctively glanced back again, and the sight made his eyes widen. A large group of people was charging toward them, every single one radiating murderous intent. He lunged forward and bolted, a single question pounding in his mind. What the hell just happened, and why were they after us? Zhang Shengtai scowled in frustration that IT pissed him off. Their bounties had actually been posted on a public platform. Little Yellow Hair was just as furious. This was clearly a targeted hunt, and the reward amounts were absurdly high. The platform was called Catch the Golden Goblin, with a total bounty of 3 million won. Little Yellow Hair was listed for 500,000 won, codenamed Broccoli Goblin. Zhang Shengtai carried a 1 million won bounty under the codename Squinty-Eyed Goblin. His bounty was the highest, 1.5 million won, labeled One-Armed Goblin. The event title read, "Find the hidden golden goblins on campus. Capture them for rewards." It was all orchestrated by Park Min-soo, a setup designed so he wouldn't have to lift a finger himself. Jin Tong was extremely satisfied with the operation. In his eyes, all it took was a few taps. Catching the three of them was inevitable. Once the bounty spread, the entire school went insane. 0.3 million won was more than enough to drive anyone crazy. The mastermind Jin Tong was thrilled. He had promised long ago that he would make the three of them experience just how terrifying money could be. Meanwhile, the three of them were completely surrounded, the corridors packed on both sides with people coming to capture them. He knew things were bad. 0.3 people against 30 was impossible. So he switched accounts instantly. This kind of situation could only be handled by Ma Shihao. The moment he saw that scene, Little Yellow Hair nearly pissed himself. Even Zhang Shengtai knew they stood no chance against numbers like that. Ma Shihao, on the other hand, reacted completely differently. He grabbed both of them. He told them to calm down. This was nothing but a small skirmish. Whether they liked each other or not didn't matter anymore. They were on the same boat now. If they didn't want to die, they needed to trust him and follow his lead. And Ma Shihao's solution was simple: 3 people versus 30. The idea thrilled even himself. I could see it had been a long time since his blood boiled like this. Today, he was going to smash every single one of them. Meanwhile, on the other side, Park Min-soo received confirmation that the targets had been found. But the follow-up report made his hands tremble with anger. 30 men had failed to take them down and were now requesting reinforcements. According to the report, the moment his men spotted them, they rushed in all at once. Yet none of them expected that one person would drop several fighters with just a few punches, so fast that no one even saw the strikes clearly. The one delivering the report was left deeply shaken. His punches carried tremendous power, and his speed was so fast it couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Even the men who were hit had no idea how they went down. His fists were like bullets. By the moment he lifted his arm, the impact had already landed. The motion itself practically vanished. With a loud crash, another body was sent flying. The sight made several of them hesitate, their steps coming to a halt. However, a few quick thinkers tried to sneak in from behind. After all, human eyes face forward. No one can see what's happening at the back of their head. But at that moment, a large hand grabbed one man by the strap of his cap. Ma Shihao yanked hard, and the cap was pulled straight down, completely covering the man's head. Using that body as leverage, he pinned another guard behind him, then charged straight toward the enemy in front. With a loud bang, a heavy punch slammed squarely into the man's face. But it wasn't over yet. Ma Shihao's gaze shifted toward the 2 men from before. At the same time, the 2 men were completely flustered, unsure of what to do. Ma Shihao seized the opening and kicked both of them in the head. 1 strike, 2 targets. It all happened in a blink, barely 1 or 2 seconds, far too fast for a normal person to react. Moments later, Ma Shihao had taken down 3 opponents without breaking a sweat. The sight sent a jolt through Zhang Shengtai. He hadn't expected Ma Shihao to use the guy in the hoodie as a literal obstacle. By doing so, he had forcefully created a one-on-one combat space. Such a complex tactical decision was made in an instant. Zhang Shengtai realized this wasn't coincidence at all, and in that very moment, he finally admitted it. Ma Shihao was truly strong, and losing to him made perfect sense. On the other side of the battlefield, things were nowhere near as easy. Little Yellow was surrounded by 2 opponents, having already taken more than a dozen punches. Though he was stuck on the defensive, he triggered a kind of passive skill, drawing aggro by tanking hits and holding part of the enemy back. He muttered under his breath that even with only a 500,000 won bounty on his head, he shouldn't be underestimated. In the next moment, Little Yellow lunged forward and wrapped his arms around the 2 men in front of him. He shouted, "Boss, now's the time. Get over here and take these two out." Bang, bang. Right on cue, two fists slammed into the pair. None of them had expected that former enemies would now be fighting side by side, and the two men collapsed after being hit by their heavy blows. Zhang Shengtai burst out laughing. "You're a solid main tank, great defense, you're basically the team's meat shield." Little Yellow scowled. "Don't order me around, that MY status is higher than yours now. I'm the boss's personal lackey." Ma Shihao shouted, "Both of you quiet down. Stay focused. Once you catch an opponent, smash their face in." In just 2.5 minutes, the three of them had taken down 20 enemies. That IT was an impressive record by any standard. Watching from above, Zhao Chuanhao was stunned that if he had been the one fighting, he would have been beaten into a pulp by 20 people. Just when he thought it was finally over, he heard a wave of noise coming from down the corridor. The entire hallway was filled with wild shouting. Look closely and you could see in their eyes. They were glowing, walking piles of one. Little Yellow and Zhang Shengtai froze. They had just dealt with 20 opponents, yet even more were pouring in, so many they couldn't even count. IT wasn't that they couldn't fight, it was the fear of running out of stamina and being swarmed all at once. Zhang Shengtai narrowed his eyes and spotted two familiar figures in the crowd, the class's second and third rank fighters. But now, there was nothing heroic about them. Their eyes burned with greed. "You know your bounty just doubled, right?" 10 minutes earlier, Park Min-soo had issued an emergency announcement. Double experience event. Rewards multiplied by 2. The total prize pool had jumped to 6 million won, doubled from the original 3 million. At that moment, Jin Tong looked at the bounty he had just posted and let out a chuckle. People often say there are things money can't solve, but he didn't really believe that. In Jin Tong's view, if something couldn't be handled, it only meant one thing. He hadn't put up enough money yet. Ma Shihao's veins bulged with anger. Jin Tong was truly despicable. He had been blind to ever take him in as a lackey. Looking up, they saw the corridor filling with people, packed so densely it made their skin crawl, popping out like cockroaches. Little Yellow felt he couldn't hold much longer, and no matter how tanky he was, there was no way to block all of them, so he chose a tactical retreat. Meanwhile, Zhao Chuanhao scanned the surroundings from above, searching for an escape route. After all, Ma Shihao was using his body. If it got crippled, he'd be done for. In just 2.5 seconds, he found a way out. Zhao Chuanhao immediately shouted to Ma Shihao, telling him to look behind him. There was a fire hose reel mounted on the wall behind him. With a loud crash, Ma Shihao smashed the window. His face lit up with wild joy. He hadn't expected to escape death today, and it felt incredible. The pursuers were furious at the sight. The prey was right there, only to slip away. Using the length of the fire hose, the three slid straight down from the building. IT was an escape Zhang Shengtai and Little Yellow had never experienced before. Soon, all three reached the ground safely. After the desperate escape, the three of them found a spot and bent over, gasping for breath. The fight had been exhausting, and everything had happened too fast to react properly. Because of this battle, Zhang Shengtai and the blonde kid were completely won over. "Boss, that was insane. You actually jumped down from the 4th floor with us." He told them to stop flattering him, then asked whether the 20 people who had chased them earlier all owed money to Jin Tong. Zhang Shengtai nodded. Yes, Jin Tong had used exactly that to expand his power. If they couldn't repay the debt, they repaid it with their bodies. Hearing this, his eyes widened as something suddenly clicked in his mind. Without another word, he rushed toward the hospital, ignoring the two shouting behind him. On the way, he noticed a small stall. He decisively exchanged all the luxury items on him for Korean won. Ma Suk-ho was furious. Was he insane? Those were things he had worked hard to collect, selling them so cheaply. What about the medical bills afterward? He couldn't understand his behavior at all. Ever since earlier, this guy had been running around like a restless puppy that couldn't sit still. His expression turned extremely serious as he spoke to Ma Suk-ho that a deep sense of unease had been lingering in his mind, and that unease came from Ma Hao. Zhang Xingtai's offhand remark had just triggered it. If he didn't rush over now, Manhwa might be kidnapped by Jintong. At the same time, Manhwa rode her motorcycle into an old residential complex. There was no elevator, which irritated her. Looks like she'd have to climb the stairs herself. Soon, she reached the 4th floor. She knocked on the door, labeled 401. As usual, she placed the delivery at the door and took a photo. Just then, sharp yelling came from inside the apartment. A girl slowly stepped out and said the delivery had been sent to the wrong place. Manhwa was confused. She had double-checked the address. It was definitely here, she replied. That's right, didn't you order the half-and-half drink set? Hearing Manhwa talk back, the girl clearly became unhappy. Although Manhwa felt angry, she didn't want to argue. Less trouble was better. She asked the girl to check the order details. She explained that the delivery was completed properly and suggested contacting the shop if there were still issues. The girl glanced at the food in Manhwa's hands. In the next second, she slapped it to the ground. The girl then turned to go back inside and said, "Deal with the delivery yourself. It'll be deducted from your pay anyway. I'll leave you a bad review." That instantly ignited Manhwa's temper. She snapped, "Wait right there. How can you be this unreasonable?" Unbeknownst to her, the girl was already waiting behind the door for her to take the bait. The moment Manhwa pushed the door open, the scene inside left her completely stunned. Several large hands lunged toward her at once. Too many, too fast for her to react. Her arms were locked down immediately, followed by 2 more hands grabbing her collar hard. In just 2.5 seconds, Manhwa was dragged entirely into the room. Bang! The door slammed shut, as if nothing had happened at all. Manhwa was thrown heavily onto the floor. A large foot stepped slowly into her view. Someone said coldly, "That fried chicken doesn't matter, we never wanted it in the first place. What we want is you." Masuko's sister, Manhwa. Her mind was in chaos. She asked instinctively, "Who are you people? What do you want from me?" The girl raised a phone that was already on a video call and held it in front of her. On the screen appeared Jintong, urging Manhwa to repay the money immediately. His face showed clear impatience. Late payers were exactly the kind he hated most. At the same time, he finally arrived at Fengtian General Hospital. He pushed the ward door open without hesitation, but the sight inside made his eyes widen. The room was empty, aside from Masuko lying on the bed. He sat down on a chair to wait, thinking that Manhwa might have simply stepped out for a moment. Beside him, the straightforward Masuko urged him to continue telling that story. At the same time, unease crept into Masuko's heart. He wanted to know what that so-called bad feeling really meant. After a brief pause, he brought up something Zhang Shengtai had said earlier. The meaning was clear. If someone couldn't repay the debt, they would have to pay with their body. Zhang Shengtai said this was always Jintong's way. Anyone who failed to repay, male or female, would be dealt with like this. Men would be reduced to errand runners or guard dogs, waiting to be ordered around. As he spoke, he fixed his gaze on Masuko and said in a low voice, "Didn't your sister borrow money from him and fail to repay it? She's a woman. What kind of fate do you think awaits her?" The moment he heard this, fury almost bordering on madness ignited in Masuko's eyes. If Jintong dared lay even a finger on his sister, he would tear him apart. Meanwhile, in Manhwa's location, a camera had already been set up inside the room. After slightly adjusting the angle, it began recording her. On the call, Jintong told Manhwa to behave herself. Even repaying the debt through part-time work was already beyond her means, let alone paying off loan shark interest. If she cooperated, he could waive part of the interest, a rare opportunity. Although Manhwa was a simple-minded girl, no matter how innocent she was, she understood what was about to happen next. Jintong gave a sinister smile and told her to do her best. He would decide how much interest to waive based on her performance. With a soft chime, the call ended. Inside Manhwa's room, besides herself, there were 3 unfamiliar women, with the one in the middle clearly being the leader. The ringleader said with a malicious grin that the camera was already recording and told her to start undressing. Hesitation appeared on Manhwa's face. She then slightly turned her head away. Her hand had already begun pulling down the zipper of her clothes. The three women all wore smug expressions. They had long disliked Ma Hao. Being prettier than them was bad enough, but she also looked completely lacking in resistance, which made things boring. In the past, she had acted arrogant with her brother backing her, and it had always been an eyesore. Moments later, Ma Hao slowly took off her outer jacket. She murmured softly that no one truly knew how exhausting it was to live as Ma Sukho's younger sister. At the instant, the ringleader froze in surprise. Ma Hao had already completely removed her jacket. But at the very moment it came off, she hurled the jacket straight at the woman's face. Then she lunged forward and delivered a powerful kick to the ringleader's face. As expected of Ma Sukho's sister, Ma Hao possessed the same fighting talent as her brother. At this moment, Ma Hao had completely entered a combat state. Though she looked slender, her core was packed with solid strength. In the next instant, the masked woman beside the ringleader slapped Ma Hao across the face and shouted, asking if she had gone crazy to dare attack them. Ma Hao merely cast her a cold glance and replied calmly that slapping faces wasn't done with an open hand. It was done with a fist. Immediately after, Ma Hao seized the woman's arm. She twisted her waist sharply, sending her skirt flaring upward. In the same motion, her hand clenched tightly into a fist. With a single punch, she sent the masked girl flying, adding coldly that royale fighting relied on the waist, shifting body weight into the strike, and that someone who didn't even know that had no right to fight her. Seeing she stood no chance, another girl grabbed a beer bottle and cursed as she lunged forward, but she never expected Ma Hao to evade the attack with an oddly fluid movement. The beer bottle was kicked away in an instant. Immediately after, Ma Hao's foot snapped up and struck the girl's chin, completely overwhelming her. With just those two moves, Ma Hao demonstrated a fighting talent no less impressive than her brother's, leaving the scene utterly breathtaking. Ma Hao's toe slid lightly across the floor. In only a few seconds, she had taken down everyone present, her movements flowing with the elegance of a dance. In truth, the ringleader hadn't been entirely wrong. Ma Hao had indeed benefited from her brother's influence. Thanks to Ma Shihao, the first thing she learned wasn't how to use chopsticks, but how to fight. In that sense, calling Ma Shihao's direct disciple wouldn't be an exaggeration. Just as Ma Hao finished dealing with the three girls, the sound of a lock clicking echoed from outside the door. With a sharp crack, the door opened, and a man's arm slipped through the gap. Ma Hao knew all too well that this was enemy territory. Anyone entering now was bound to mean trouble. Sure enough, three men stepped inside, one of them especially burly. Clearly, if the women failed to handle her, these men were meant to take over, only a bit earlier than planned. Ma Hao's expression darkened. She was confident she could handle the three girls, but facing three full-grown men left her with little confidence. After all, she had never received formal combat training. After 10 minutes of struggle, Ma Hao was finally pinned to the ground by the burly man, her arms locked tightly in place. Wearing a smug grin, he asked if she knew why they had come. Loud laughter erupted throughout the room, while the man in black behind them prepared to press the record button once again. What followed should have been inevitable, yet in a desperate burst of resistance, Ma Hao cleverly slipped free using leverage and drove a punch straight into the man's face. Unfortunately, the blow barely fazed him. Instead of anger, it ignited a stronger sense of conquest within him. Subduing a woman like her, he thought, would be far more interesting. In the next instant, the burly man slammed his head violently into Ma Hao's face. This was his usual way of dealing with women who refused to obey. A wave of searing pain exploded through Ma Hao's head. Even her teeth throbbed from the impact. The blow was far too severe. Ma Hao lost consciousness on the spot. The man turned to his underling and barked an order, lock the door, and get ready to record. He was already growing impatient over Ma Hao's appearance. To be fair, Ma Hao was undeniably beautiful, easily someone who could be called schoolbelle. Following the command, the underling moved to shut the door completely. Just as he was about to close it, hurried footsteps echoed down the hallway. He instinctively turned his head and his eyes widened in shock. The figure was impossibly fast. All he saw was a pair of legs rushing toward him. In the next second, a powerful kick smashed into his face. His reflexes were nowhere near fast enough to evade Ma Shihao's attack. Hearing the disturbance, the men inside turned around in confusion. With a sharp sound, a large hand clamped firmly onto the doorframe. Their expressions darkened immediately. Who dared to barge in at a time like this? Ma Shihao clenched his fists tightly. At that moment, Ma Shihao's presence erupted completely. Ever since taking control of the body, no one had ever seen him this furious. His gaze was vicious as he spoke coldly. Today, right here, I'll twist the heads off every one of you insects and send you straight to hell. 10 minutes earlier, he and Zhao Chuanhao had searched several blocks without finding any trace of Ma Hao. Fortunately, Ma Shihao had installed a tracking device on his sister long ago, fearing he might not reach her in time if danger ever arose. Now it had proven invaluable. He had done this for one reason only. Ma Hao was now his only family. Zhao Chuanhao fell silent for a moment, a thought crossing his mind. This man was probably lonelier than he appeared. After narrowing it down, they confirmed the signal was coming from this residential complex, and from that point on, Ma Shihao fully took over the body's control. That was how the kick earlier had happened. Standing behind him, Zhao Chuanhao cursed loudly, questioning why he kicked anyone on sight, unaware that Ma Shihao's expression had turned utterly grim. Zhao Chuanhao then shifted his gaze toward the inside of the room. There, on the floor, lay Ma Hao, blood still lingering at the corner of her lips. Several people inside were staring at them, a camera set up in the center. Anyone could tell what they had intended to do. What enraged him most was the sight of a man sitting on Ma Hao's legs. The group looked at the intruders in confusion. Who was this guy? Meanwhile, Ma Shihao stood like a war god incarnate, his mere stance radiating terrifying strength. Soon, someone noticed the name badge on his chest, IT clearly read, Zhao Chuanhao. Zhao Chuanhao was a freshman, yet he had already caused several major incidents and risen to become the strongest among the first-year students, so nearly everyone present recognized him. What they could never know was this. The person they were abusing at that very moment was Ma Shihao's sister, and the man standing before them had once been the urban demon king who struck fear into the entire underground world. Seeing the interruption, the burly man slowly stood up. Although the newcomer looked dangerous, they relied on their numbers and felt no real fear toward Ma Shihao. The female ringleader was especially furious. She never expected that someone would step forward for this woman, something she herself had always wanted but never had. In the next instant, she grabbed a fork from the table. Pointing it straight at Ma Hao's face, she threatened Ma Shihao harshly. Go ahead and try it out. Let's see whether your fists are faster or my hand is. Do you really want to watch this woman's face get ruined? Ma Shihao froze for a moment, yet the fury surging inside him only grew stronger. His fists clenched with a sharp cracking sound, but after a brief pause, he slowly loosened his grip. Then, without looking back, he turned around and began to walk away. Everyone present was stunned. What was with this guy? Arriving in a flash and leaving just as quickly? A smug smile spread across the ringleader's face. Think Ma Hao had ended up with such a spineless man. It was deeply satisfying to her. Seeing Ma Shihao about to leave, two people immediately moved to chase after him. Yet just as they stood up, they saw Ma Shihao turn back. Confusion spread across everyone's faces once again. In just a few minutes, they had been left stunned repeatedly. Ma Shihao was holding a fire extinguisher in his hands. In the next instant, without saying a single word, he lifted it and unleashed its full power, spraying it straight at the group. A massive cloud of white powder exploded outward, instantly blinding them and completely blocking their vision. They could no longer see anything ahead. The extinguisher's powder filled the entire room, and within seconds, it was completely emptied. At that moment, one of the men suddenly felt a violent kick strike his leg. Shock flashed through his eyes. In the final moment before losing consciousness, he vaguely saw a large foot slowly stepping toward him. The others heard a dull thud, and that companion immediately went silent. Moments later, the burly man heard another heavy impact. Another teammate had lost consciousness as well. Panic began to rise within him. An unseen enemy was the most terrifying of all, forcing him to stay alert, careful, and even more careful. Unable to endure the pressure any longer, he roared, "If you've got the guts, come out and fight me face to face." At the same time, Ma Shihao's footsteps moved rapidly around the room, leaving almost no trace behind. He answered coldly, "A fair fight is something only humans deserve. What you people do doesn't qualify. You're nothing but beasts." The burly man suddenly noticed a shadow flicker behind him and believed he had finally caught Ma Shihao. He swung a powerful punch with all his strength. But the moment he saw the face of the person he hit, he froze in terror. He never imagined that his all-out punch had landed squarely on his own companion. Elsewhere, Ma Shihao's footsteps moved as if he were teleporting, advancing at extreme speed. He quickly broke through the thick cloud of powder and appeared behind the man. Sensing something wrong behind him, a surge of dread rose in the man's chest, and he turned around abruptly. To his horror, Ma Shihao was already standing behind him, but a cold, ruthless resolve burned in Ma Shihao's eyes as he said calmly, "People like you aren't even worth my effort." Immediately after, a red cylindrical object flew straight toward the man. At that moment, Ma Shihao was truly enraged. His strike was merciless, leaving no room for restraint. The fire extinguisher in his hand smashed violently into the man's face. Meanwhile, Ma Hao, still unconscious, drifted into a dream. In that dream, she saw the scene of her parents' death. At the funeral, people whispered among themselves, wondering what would happen to such a young child. With no relatives willing to take her in, it seemed she would be sent to an orphanage. Those words dealt a devastating blow to the young Ma Hao's heart. Fortunately, at that moment, Ma Shihao reached out and held her hand. From then on, they were orphans, and her brother became her only support. In her dream, their hands were tightly clasped together. In reality, another pair of hands was also held just as firmly. Ma Hao slowly opened her eyes, still dazed, and murmured softly, "Brother." Ma Hao suddenly sat up, her eyes filled with alertness as she scanned her surroundings. When she realized she was in her brother's hospital room, a trace of wariness rose within her, and her gaze quickly swept every corner of the room, searching for the people who had attacked her earlier. Ma Shihao spoke, "You don't need to worry. Those people were beaten badly. They probably won't dare bother you again." However, compared to that matter, Ma Shihao was concerned about something even more important. He carefully checked Ma Hao from head to toe, asking whether she felt any pain or if she had suffered any fractures or dislocations. With a dull thud, a foot struck Ma Shihao's chin. Ma Hao shouted angrily, "What are you doing?" At that exact moment, Ma Shihao and Zhao Chuanhao switched bodies again, causing the blow to land squarely on Zhao Chuanhao instead. Zhao Chuanhao then explained the situation to Ma Hao, telling her that he had been able to find her through a location tracking app and that everything had been arranged by Ma Shihao beforehand. Ma Hao pressed on, asking, "What exactly is your relationship with my brother?" The question left Zhao Chuanhao momentarily at a loss. It was far too complicated to explain in detail. Still, there was one thing he was certain of. His bond with Ma Shihao was closer than anyone else's. Ma Hao fell silent for a moment, clearly not fully grasping the meaning behind his words. Seeing that she was energetic and unharmed, Zhao Chuanhao prepared to leave. Just as Zhao Chuanhao was about to leave, Ma Hao suddenly grabbed the corner of his clothes. Zhao Chuanhao felt puzzled. Did she still have something she wanted to say? At that moment, Ma Hao's body trembled slightly as she whispered, "Please wait. Could you stay here for a while?" Zhao Chuanhao could understand her reaction, that it was a lingering effect of the kidnapping. She was afraid of being alone. After a short while, Zhao Chuanhao found a blanket and gently covered her. Before long, Ma Hao fell into a deep sleep. Looking at Ma Hao lying on the hospital bed, Zhao Chuanhao's mood grew heavy. If they hadn't arrived in time today, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Hearing this, Ma Shihao clenched his teeth, his anger barely contained. He demanded that Zhao Qianhao go back and find those people, insisting that a few punches were far from enough. He wanted their limbs broken. Zhao Qianhao stopped him, saying that doing so would be meaningless. Those words completely ignited Ma Shihao's fury. "Shut up, you coward," he roared. "If you want something like this to never happen again, it has to be finished properly. Do you understand that?" Zhao Qianhao suddenly cut him off, stating calmly that he had already considered all of this, which was why he intended to deal with the matter seriously. The people they dealt with today were nothing more than the lowest lackeys in the school. The real troublemakers were still running rampant. If they truly wanted to put an end to this, they would have to go straight for the core leadership of the Shana organization. Jin Tong had to be made to understand that they were not people to be provoked. As long as Ma Shihao had the courage, even if Zhao Qianhao's body were to be completely destroyed, he would fight alongside him to the very end. That evening, Zhao Qianhao arranged to meet the other two at a park. When Little Blonde and Zhang Shengtai learned that Zhao Qianhao intended to confront Jin Tong directly, both showed looks of shock. Little Blonde was full of admiration, thinking it was exactly what a boss would do. Zhang Shengtai, however, was clearly reluctant to join. Seeing this, Zhao Qianhao tried to persuade him. Zhao Qianhao looked at Zhang Shengtai and asked bluntly, "Don't you also owe Jin Tong money? What are you planning to do about it? Running forever isn't a solution. Sooner or later, they'll find an opening." Zhang Shengtai fell silent, that he had to admit that Zhao Qianhao was right. It might be better to take this chance and wipe out all his debts at once. Soon after, Zhang Shengtai laughed loudly and sat down beside them. "Who said anything about running? If we're going, then let's go. Might as well stir things up properly at school." However, he made one thing clear. Without a solid plan, he still wouldn't participate. In Zhang Shengtai's eyes, all three of them were currently in bad shape. Zhao Qianhao had a broken hand, while Zhang Shengtai himself hadn't fully recovered from his leg injury, leaving his combat ability reduced. As for Little Blonde, he was basically a tank, good at taking hits but lacking offensive power. If the three of them went to settle scores recklessly like this, they would inevitably be drowned by sheer numbers. After all, aside from Jin Tong, the Shana organization still had hundreds of capable fighters. Simply put, the only way to solve the problem would be a one-on-one fight, but someone as cunning as Jin Tong would never agree to that. At that moment, Zhao Qianhao slowly reached into his jacket and stated calmly that there was no need to fight everyone head-on. In his possession was something that would force Jin Tong to agree to a one-on-one confrontation. If Jin Tong refused, Zhao Qianhao would expose everything Jin Tong had done. The next day, all members of the Shana organization received orders to gather at a designated location. The three men involved in Ma Hao's abduction the day before were brutally beaten by Jin Tong. Useless fools who couldn't even handle a single woman. Jin Tong was furious. Who was bold enough to stir up trouble now? Park Min-soo tried to calm him down, saying that anger wouldn't solve anything. The next second, Jin Tong's hand clamped tightly onto Park Min-soo's face. "President Park," Jin Tong said coldly, "do you know what keeps our business alive? Do you have any idea what your people just did? Reputation is our lifeline. One little rat like this can bring an entire kingdom down." Park Min-soo had no answer. This failure was undeniably his responsibility. Just then, Jin Tong's phone rang. He answered slowly, his voice icy. "Who is this? What do you want?" A chuckle came from the other end. "This is Zhao Qianhao. Did you forget me already? I'm not calling to argue, I want to talk business." Zhao Qianhao explained that he had prepared the full principal and interest owed by both Ma Hao and Zhang Shengtai. The amounts were combined with nothing missing, enough to settle the debt in full. Jin Tong listened without any expression. Then he turned the phone toward his subordinates and sneered, "Let my men decide whether they agree." The next moment, Jin Tong issued an order. "Capture Zhao Qianhao, bounty, 5 million won." Cheers erupted from his subordinates on the other end of the line. Clearly, things wouldn't go as simply as Zhao Chuanhao had planned. 0.5 million won was enough to drive anyone mad. Even if Jin Tong let it go, his men wouldn't. Jin Tong grinned arrogantly. "Run if you can, you little bastard. If we catch you, you're dead." Zhao Chuanhao stated that he understood. Since that was the case, it was time to go to war. In the next moment, Zhao Chuanhao, Zhang Xingtai, and Huang Mao suddenly appeared at the entrance of the club. Everyone present was stunned. Were these three here to throw their lives away? Even Jin Tong himself was completely confused. Zhao Chuanhao spoke calmly, saying he had known they would never let this matter go so easily, which was why they came in person. Since the hatred between both sides ran that deep, they might as well settle it with a clean one-on-one fight. Jin Tong almost laughed in anger. "Is there something wrong with your head? Why would I ever agree to a duel?" The next second, the entire club erupted into a tsunami of shouting. "Catch Zhao Chuanhao. He's worth 5 million won." A massive crowd surged forward, too many to count. Just then, everyone's phone buzzed at the same time. Each of them received the same video message. Someone opened it and found that it was less than a minute long. In the footage, a man's iron fist smashed straight through an oncoming enemy. The video had been recorded personally by Ma Shihao a year ago, originally just as a casual recording. As they watched, confusion spread across everyone's faces. Wasn't that the urban demon king, Ma Shihao? In the video, Ma Shihao charged alone to rescue a captured Jin Tong, roaring into the camera, "Kim Dong, your brother is here." Kim Dong-hee was Jin Tong's real name. Jin Tong's fingers clenched until they cracked. That video could never be fully understood by his subordinates. At this moment, Kim Dong-hee was standing on the brink of rage. He had clearly seen himself in the video, bound tightly by a rope. Seeing this, Ma Shihao burst out laughing. "You look pretty miserable there, little brother." Zhao Chuanhao raised his hand high. He calmly warned that deleting the video from his phone would be pointless. There were plenty of backups. Jin Tong completely lost control. "You lunatic, stop right now and delete that video." Zhao Chuanhao merely sneered, saying that if Jin Tong truly didn't want others to see the footage, then he should accept the conditions. With a serious expression, Zhao Chuanhao asked whether he was now qualified to face Jin Tong in a one-on-one fight. Though furious, Jin Tong had no way to lash out, since his weakness was firmly in the other man's hands. After a brief pause, Jin Tong turned to Park Min-soo behind him and ordered, "Prepare the arena that we accept the duel." 30 minutes later, a simple ring had been set up, surrounded by students who rushed over upon hearing the news, all waiting for the showdown. Zhang Xingtai quietly asked Huang Mao if he knew what was in the video. Judging from Jin Tong's expression, the footage clearly terrified him, but Huang Mao offered no answer. Zhao Chuanhao then announced the wager, 30,000 won, along with the original video file. The duel format would be Jin Tong's choice. If Zhao Chuanhao's side won, all debts owed by Zhang Xingtai and Ma Hao would be wiped clean. Jin Tong let out a cold laugh, mocking the man's sheer ignorance and arrogance. With a sharp click, Park Min-soo slowly snapped open the folding fan in his hand. He announced that the rules for this match would be set by him and asked whether they dare to play under the Yasha rules. At that moment, Zhang Xingtai stepped forward. He narrowed his eyes slightly and calmly agreed, his presence showing not the slightest hint of fear. From Zhang Xingtai's gaze, Park Min-soo could already tell this man was meant to be his opponent. He chuckled softly, starting the match with a clash between the deputies on both sides. That was indeed interesting. Zhang Xingtai snorted, mocking him outright. Since when did a second-in-command get to talk? A mere lackey daring to interfere? Why not send out your strongest fighter instead? Park Min-soo showed no anger at the provocation. Quite the opposite. He replied calmly that, unfortunately, he was the strongest fighter here. Most members of the organization were nothing more than dogs wearing collars. But Park Min-soo was different. As he removed his glasses, his entire demeanor changed, his eyes turning razor sharp. He had joined this group solely because of his combat strength. Zhang Shengtai slowly opened his eyes, his first time doing so in this battle. His fists cracked loudly as he clenched them. He stated coldly that he had never cared about Park Min-soo's status. He only saw an annoying fat pig in front of him. Killing intent surged in Zhang Shengtai's eyes that he had endured this man long enough. In the next instant, Park Min-soo moved. His massive body unleashed an invisible pressure as it surged forward. At the same time, Zhang Shengtai threw his punch. The destruction battle of Fengtian High, Round 1, officially began.